Do it say live?
Yep, it
It
do.
says live. What do we got going on?
Oh, nothing.
Whole lot of nothing.
I was watching some. I decided somebody needs to go over. And this is going to sound terrible. The fallacies, you know? You ever heard of fallacies before?
No.
What are fallacies?
Okay.
Has anyone done a podcast?
Unironically, I think somebody needs to go over how often those are misunderstood. Right? Because I was thinking about that today. I was watching some Mormonism Live. They were talking about anachronisms. I don't really know exactly what was going on. There was this apologist who's basically claiming that he is eliminating anachronism one at a time, and they all say that, but they're going through and they get a live chat from Julie Hanks, and she says, as long as there's even one anachronism, that's too much. And RFM's like, oh yeah, definitely. If there's even one anachronism, it's all going to fall apart. And I was like, well, okay. I had a couple thoughts. My first thought was, I think if the Book of Mormon apologists legitimately eliminated all except for one of the anachronisms, I'd be very impressed.
I'd be like, that would be a good trick.
I'd be like, that one's probably next, But also, I was like, I was thrown back to all of my interactions regarding Julie Hanks, Natasha Helfer Parker, Dan McClellan, any of those people that are just clearly not really Mormon, and all the times I've gotten in so many arguments about those people with Anthony Miller, and every time I'm like, no, they don't believe in this shit. They clearly don't believe in this shit, and he's always like, well, they say that they believe in it, so who are you to doubt? And can you read their minds? Like, I don't have to read their minds. Dan is hawking every progressive talking point as if it came from the Bible and that was the original intent. But anytime you point it to the original intent, he says we shouldn't look for the original intent, which is nuts. But it made me think of a thing I'm accused of.
Not just you shouldn't look for the original intent. You're an asshole if you try.
I know. But it makes me think of something I'm accused of when I say Dan's clearly an atheist or Julie Hanks clearly doesn't believe in Mormonism. The no true Scotsman fallacy. And that we need to go over that fallacy. Because there's truth to like what Scotsman says about you is that you are from Scotland or you live in Scotland, right? And that's it. So the no true Scotsman fallacy, the idea is no true Scotsman drinks Bud Light, but obviously that's more of a cultural thing, and you're not literally not a Scotsman, you're born. But that doesn't mean that you can't say there no true Scotsman does something, right? And one of the things you can say is no true Scotsman is born in and lives his entire life in Southern California.
Yeah, that's not.
That's a fallacy. That's the no true Scotsman fallacy. And so I feel Mormonism is a lot more broad than being Scotsman, right? I feel pretty confident in saying no true Mormon thinks that the Mormon church is bullshit founded on racism, sexism, and homophobia, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I feel pretty no true Mormon thinks that the Book of Mormon is nonsense, and
they would then be a non-Mormon or an ex-Mormon.
I know, but then every time I do that, every time I point to all that shit that they do, I'm like, no, that's no true Scotsman fallacy. No,
there's a million ways to Mormon, don't you know? And
I'm saying that
is one of them.
I'm saying you're not a Scotsman because you're not from Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not fallacious.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's probably a million one of those. There's a way to misunderstand or slightly use wrong every single fallacy that there is. One that might come up a whole lot today is the naturalistic fallacy, which is the concept of, because there's so much stuff popping around this week about Evo Psych stuff. That's why I called myself Evo Psycho. But Jonathan Troy, all that sort of stuff. Troy even talked about the naturalistic fallacy and all that sorts of stuff. And then, of course, Sam and those guys, it was shit version of Jonathan and Troy, because they kind of talked about we're all animals, and let's think about the psychology of the evolution of us being animals, and then just had the shittiest hour talking about that ever.
Oh yeah, I watched that earlier today, and I had decided that Zelf wins cringe lord of the week.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought we were giving that to Rosebud.
So there's something about the naturalistic fallacy that
Wait,
I
I
think
thought Rosebud was last week.
Rosebud
No,
struck
was it this
again.
week that she leaked the whole?
Oh yeah.
There's more to
Okay.
talk about Rosebud.
Okay,
for
Zelf
sure.
is probably runner up.
Yeah.
You're right. Rosebud was cringier.
I feel like there's something else too. I'll remember as we go. Because remembering all the shit today on Thursdays, especially when I have like busy days on Thursdays, always tough because there is every single week always a bunch of dumb shit, and most of it happened like last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something.
I know.
And like, oh, what was it? You know, but some of it was like Marti on Mormon News Roundup. Like I want to remember that sort of stuff. But there's something about the naturalistic fallacy that they kind of get wrong too. Naturalistic fallacy is saying that just because something's observable or describable or descriptive in observing nature does not then mean that it's prescribable, right? Or doesn't have to mean that it's prescribed. Descriptive and prescriptive are two different things. That's basically the naturalistic fallacy. But at the same time, there's something there's something that's wrong about that. Like there's something that is true that maybe something that is a little bit more natural does tip a scale a little bit more to something that also should be prescriptive in my point of view.
Sure, but that's not even the only way that they misinterpret it. The way that they misinterpret the naturalistic fallacy the most is just to say that like nothing is natural.
Yeah.
Like, if I say that like because like it's true that heterosexuality is the norm, right? That's among humans. Like
We must do the opposite.
and then if they're like, no, you're committing the naturalistic fallacy by saying that. Like, no, I'm not. It's just I'm an observer. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with homosexuality. I'm saying that clearly.
And they've said that so explicitly. And a couple of new books, that Queering of the American Child by James Lindsay and the other guy, I've listened to a ton of different excerpts from it. I want the full book, but it's not on audio yet. But I've listened to other people read parts.
I keep meaning to read it.
And there's another one called like Critical Dilemma by Shendy and all that stuff. But what both those books do a great job of is citing their own shitty words at the world, you know. And yeah, it's just full exposure that normal is bad and you must queer it.
What's normal is bad, and it's also it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as normal. Yeah. It's a social construct.
It's normal if it is normal, we got to make it not normal. Yeah.
Normalize abnormality.
Yeah. But that's one. I think the naturalistic fallacy is something that you can get fallacious in thinking that just cocking your neck back and chirping that one in the air is always a good argument, you know. But I noticed a bunch of that stuff this week because what happened on the roundup? Oh, Marti was just on the roundup. We were chilling.
Oh yeah, Marti did great on the roundup. It was because I don't know. I don't know if D-Vase will have her back on there because she didn't sensationalize enough.
Yeah, she just kept kind of deflating his tires.
Yeah, she's just like, it's not that big of a deal or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like it was awesome to me at the end when he asked her like, who do you think's wrong in this whole temple thing? She's like, I think everyone's kind of a dick here. Because yeah, you don't have to build your temple that high, but also, why do you care if they build their temple that high? Like, who cares about any of this?
I think Divas is going for a current affair type vibe. That's what he wants.
It seems like it.
And and Marti's just gonna.
If you want to do a current affair weekly occurring show just about Mormonism, then you got to cover boring shit like the height of temple spires and zoning laws.
Well, no, what you got to do is just turn it into a really big deal. That's what the current affair is all about. Is make everything into oh my gosh. And
that lady we watched on TikTok last week, she had another review of it this week, and she pointed to that as one of her proofs that Mormonism is a cult. Now I think you can make an argument, obviously, from good arguments that Mormonism is a cult, but the Temple Spire situation I don't think is a good argument place that Mormonism is a cult.
It's a really terrible arguments for their Temple Spire thing, like saying it's part of their testimony or whatever, saying it's requirement of worship. That's retarded.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, they
But
made that up.
but I think that they feel. I mean, even Rebecca Biblioteca said this. They feel they got to stand up for it because as soon as like the stuff starts getting pushed back on one thing, it'll get pushed back on all the things, all the slippery slopes. That's a fallacy. The slippery slope fallacy. Have you heard of that fallacy? The one that
The slippery slope fallacy, I always explain it to people like this. It's not that A doesn't lead to B. It's that if A is a moral imperative, we have to do it even if it might lead to B, right? Like if we're killing 13-year-olds who have blonde hair or whatever, because blonde hair people are more likely to commit sex offenses later in life, and we have real data suggesting that, we have to stop killing the 13-year-old blonde kids, right? Because that's a moral imperative. Even if it leads to a bad outcome, we kind of got to do it and deal with the outcome later. So that's why I'd say that there is a slippery slope fallacy. You can't avoid doing the right thing just because of like it might lead to something down the road, but it can lead to stuff.
Yeah.
Like the more you go onto the normalization train, there's always going to be the next thing to normalize.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good argument, and you just made the argument. Let it be known here that Jared just made the argument, I think, that women should have been put in charge of Star Wars. It was the right thing to do.
It was the right thing.
We knew it would go this way,
even though it destroyed Star Wars.
But it must be done. It had to have been done.
Jesus Christ,
that was so
funny. It was funny to me is I wish I could have seen Kathleen Kennedy's face when they when South Park did the Kathleen Kennedy thing, the put a chick in it, make it lame and gay, because this had already been written by then. Like, we already knew that she took the very concept of the Force and made it a chick that was lame and gay, and she's just fuck, man.
That really was amazing.
Yeah. There it is.
I always wonder, like, how much inside knowledge Trey has. Like, obviously, he hangs around with, writers and producers. He's around those people all the time. He probably hears all kinds of shit.
Trey Parker.
Yeah, Trey Parker.
Yeah,
he probably hears all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he probably knew that one was coming. The circle of entertainment: find a beloved IP, put a chick in it, make her gay, and make her lame. Product flops, blame the fans.
The other great cycle of entertainment is when fans say, "Why did you make everyone a woman?" They say this movie isn't for men, and then when men don't watch it and it flops, they say, "Why didn't men watch this movie that's not for men?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, okay, if it's not for men, why did no one watch it? Why didn't the people it was for watch it?
That kind of does show that they actually believe in their bullshit, right? Because like one of the hallmarks of wokeism is not acknowledging that there is a difference between males and females, right? If you want to market something to females, you don't just take the male thing and reskin it, right? Like there's a reason that there's so many successful Hallmark movies and that's marketed toward women. There's a reason there's so many successful James Bond movies. It's marketed toward men. You don't just make James Bond a woman and all of a sudden women are going to be like, yes, this is what I wanted the whole time. We kind of like different things generally. So clearly they believe in their bullshit because they keep just repackaging bullshit like this and saying, why didn't anybody watch Captain Marvel? You insulted men. Like you went on a tour talking about how toxic men are. And so the men didn't watch it. And the women weren't really going to watch it as much anyway.
Yeah, remember those people you hate? Yeah. They heard you.
Hearing about the changes that they have made to Star Wars in this new series, and it made me think of a thing that they had done with children a number of years ago. It was a study, and they were just studying children the way they played and the differences between boys and girls. And one of the things that they found is that consistently, if a girl is playing with any toy, it really doesn't matter what it is, Barbie, Batman, Superman, whatever the girl is playing with, that toy is doing what she wants. Batman is going to a tea party. G.I. Joe is going shopping. They don't You can't. When you give her Batman, Batman isn't going on adventures. No, she's gonna do what she wants to do with Batman. Batman has now been co-opted into what she does. When little boys play with toys, though, when they play with Batman, the toy is Batman. He's swinging through the city and he's saving people and he's stopping criminals. If he's G.I. Joe, he's fighting a war. If he's, whatever it is, the little boys will always try to recreate what the toy is supposed to be doing, while girls will just simply incorporate the toy into what they are already doing. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, notice when we see women who are put in charge of these new projects that they themselves did not create. And we see the exact same thing. They take these characters and instead of treating them like the characters they are, they just co-opt them into what they want. And this is why women, honestly, shouldn't be in charge of anything they didn't create. Sorry.
Oh,
I was just gonna leave it at anything. Women
I shouldn't
in charge of
be-
anything at all.
The Acolyte makes massive retcon to Star Wars lore, reveals lesbian space witches created life from the Force long before Darth Plagueis.
Dude, I've been thinking about this because the retcon is such a delicate balance. Like, because there's some retcons that people don't even realize, because Star Wars has been retconned before, sometimes stupidly and sometimes all right. The midichlorians was a pretty dumb retcon. It wasn't, I don't know, it didn't bother me a ton, but it was pretty stupid. Darth Vader being Luke's dad, wasn't that a retcon?
No.
I think it was.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think
wasn't
they
really
planned on that.
It wasn't really a retcon. Because, retcon is technically when you
is
change the story. But yeah,
Sure,
it wasn't,
yeah.
there was no sequel plan.
But I mean, it kind of changes the stuff. Like, it's a retcon to go into Doctor Who and say Doctor Who was originally
Yes.
a black chick from some planet, or that changes everything through the whole history. It kind of changes everything about Star Wars that was always his dad. I'd say it's a retcon, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard
because
Doctor
I
Who
thought
had their-
technically, because that's just adding to a story. Because retcon is I'm trying to
Sure,
think of
but what
a
I'm
specific
saying
example,
is,
but
like,
retcon is like in King of the Hill, where I can't remember specifically, but they retconned Leanne or whatever her name is, that originally her mom was dead and then her mom came back to life. Like that, that's a retcon. Like in an early season, I don't know if that's exactly right.
Isn't it a retcon just if you change something about the history that alters the way the whole entire thing's understood?
Yeah, see, the reason I say it's a retcon,
I don't think that's
I don't think he intended he didn't intend for Darth Vader to be Luke's father, and they have and why I'm saying it's a retcon that works is because you hear Obi-Wan when he says Darth Vader killed your father, and he even calls him Darth, that's his first name, So it's a little clumsy that he then takes it. No, that's a title, not a first name or whatever. But he, they then sort of successfully do the retcon by saying, well, he wasn't lying. In his mind, Darth Vader did kill Anakin Skywalker or whatever. So it works all right. But then you do shit like this. Insane. I thought the retcon I guess it wasn't a retcon, but it changes things. Like when you find out Anakin was immaculate conception, kind of dumb, but
that was really dumb.
Whatever.
Look at this. We Dan McClelland ourselves. There are two different definitions, and one, the verb is flip saying, and the noun is what we're saying. A noun is in a film, television series, or other fictional work, a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events, typically used to facilitate dramatic plot shift or account for an inconsistency. Verb, revise, or aspect of fictional work retrospectively, typically by introducing a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events. I don't know. We should know what retcon means pretty well because we're Mormons.
we live in it.
Well, I don't know. I never saw it for myself, but I remember something I heard John Larson say way back in the days, is that apparently there are some very early versions of the first edition of the Book of Mormon, because not all 3,000 copies of the first edition are identical because they were making changes within the run. And apparently there was a story problem in the very earliest versions of the Book of Mormon, where after the scene where King Benjamin dies, he pops up again because Joseph forgot that he killed him off. Yeah. And then they had to go back and fix that.
Damn, that's funny.
Yeah.
Really?
That's.
That-
I mean,
I
that's what he was talking about. Let me see.
Somebody needs to tell Nuance Host so she has something fucking new to talk about.
Oh man. Oh, this stuff, man.
Did you watch the scene, the chanting scene?
I have seen the chanting scene. I mean, I'm trying to think if I could show it or not, or if we get in trouble. Probably if I show a Critical Drinkers video, it might probably be safer, you think?
That's pretty funny. The power of one, the power of two, the
The
power of many.
many. Let's see if I can.
Oh, here we go. So, the edits to Mosiah 21:28 and Ether 4:1 likely happened because of uncertainty about the timeline of events in the Book of Mormon. When Benjamin passes the throne on to Mosiah, Mormon states that Benjamin lives 3 more years before dying, and then narrates the departure of Ammon's expedition, giving the impression that Benjamin is already dead when Ammon leaves, thus prompting the 1837 emendation, so Ammon refers to the living Mosiah instead. Additionally, after meeting Ammon, Limni brings 24 Jaredite plates to Zarahemla to be translated by Benjamin's son Mosiah. If either 4:1 refers to these records, a rendering of Benjamin seems like a contradiction, as Benjamin would have to be alive to receive them, and earlier the Book of Mormon had narrated it was Mosiah who received and translated the records, not Benjamin. So yeah, like that's a big problem.
How do you find that shit? Because like, I don't find that shit usually. Well, sometimes I can only find that shit when I'm like reading a book that I like, or watching a movie that I like. This has to be like ex-Mormons.
Isn't Kathleen Kennedying Mormonism what Michelle Stone wants to do to it?
Yeah.
Michelle Stone wants to take
put
Mormonism,
a chick in
make it lame and gay. Put a chick in it, make it lame and gay.
Put a chicken and make it lame and gay.
I mean, it's already lame, so she's halfway there.
The power of many.
Just got it. Well, that's probably how he got away with doing it, is by intertwining it with.
Yes.
Episode 3 of The Acolyte.
Yes.
I'm trying to see if I can.
Creepy.
Is this the whole scene?
Making and storytelling in general. Star Wars.
The power of many. I can't believe it.
I don't understand. Like, I thought, I don't know. I guess
They're not even trying to be subtle. They're not even trying.
Well, yeah, they take 2 gay witches.
Witches.
They give birth. Yeah, they're
Like,
witches.
Because people's like if you hadn't seen that and you heard somebody talking about feminist Marxists writing Star Wars, you'd be like, oh, come on, Rush Limbaugh, relax. But no, there it is.
Yeah.
Like lesbian Marxists, literally. Like it's lesbian Marxist Star Wars. That's what they made for us. Hooray. It's what we were all asking for, guys.
It's getting old. Like, yeah, they keep being exactly the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, and they retconned what the force is too. They say it's like threads and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what they called that. The witches call it the thread, or whatever.
Man, they're jacking with lore the same way all the religions are jacking with the lore, man.
The power of one. The power of two.
Is this song slow?
Mm-mm.
That's
They
you just gotta
directed it
slow
like
down.
that.
Power of many.
That's not on slow. I think he's got it on slow or something.
I don't think he
It's
does.
probably.
When I saw this, I actually.
Wow.
I think
Oh my
he's
gosh.
autistic.
Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. I can't
Pretty
believe
magic.
I really can't believe they're doing that.
That was amazing.
It's so magical. What bucket?
Is that Bucket? I've never heard Bucket talk. Never, ever, ever.
She's pretty silent. Ryan Wimmer pointed out.
Here now?
That's a well-known change. Royal Skousen, who has examined the original and printed manuscript of the Book of Mormon, had an elaborate argument that King Benjamin was actually correct. Oh. Yeah, I didn't know about that
Wow.
one.
Look at this. Tell me this kind of isn't like the same energy right there of that the power of what power of men 4 years
Democrats
thing.
honoring 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence
Power
in remembrance of
one,
George Floyd.
the power of two, the power of many, the power of one. This was so stupid. Like, what
This is
kind of
just something.
ridiculous world?
This is just
we're-
something like we all know. Like we know it's fake bullshit. They know we know it's fake bullshit, but they also know that if they don't do the fake bullshit that we know is fake bullshit, then we'll get mad at them. Like they know that wearing the pin doesn't do anything to cure
They know
AIDS.
that we know that they know that we know that they know.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
this is stupid.
they know that
Dude,
we
but
know
is
it's
that
dumb
the
to
same
wear
with
the
the
pin.
Star Wars? Does the Star Wars know that we know that they know that we know? That's ridiculous. Like they had to know that that was pure shit that was gonna just be panned to hell, right? No,
I would like to figure out like there's certain shows like Rings of Power is a good example. I would like to like erase my mind of everything I know about Lord of the Rings and just watch that show and see if it's any good because I never watched it, right? But I'm like watching the Acolyte. If it wasn't Star Wars and they weren't ruining an IP, would it be a terrible story? Probably. I got bored of it pretty quickly, but I don't know.
I thought about that with like the most recent season of True Detective, which could be like almost like a complete different show because the first 3 seasons were all done by the same director and showrunner. They were all set in Louisiana. They had the same kind of running thread. Now suddenly a different bunch of Kathleen Kennedy women took it to Alaska and suddenly doing something about indigenous women of color of power in Alaska. And there's a murder mystery to find out. And it turns out in the murder mystery that bad, evil, white climate. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this for you people. Bad, evil, white climate scientist corporate mans were killing the very religious hillside, and they killed a woman who figured out that they were being evil climate baddies, and then all the other women of the town killed all the scientists one by like all together all at once, and then the True Detective lady finds it all out and hides it and doesn't tell anyone. And that was not the same story. That was not
Wow.
True Detective. It was out of nowhere, just total other horse shit. And there was some ghost stuff in it. There wasn't ghost stuff in the first 3 seasons. And you're like, what the fuck? And no, it was not a good story. No, it made no sense. No, it was ridiculous. And I totally thought, like, could this be another series just called Alaska Ghosts Indigenous People of Color? No, it's still that would have sucked that way too, just as much as the other thing. You know, I saw it's just like the WNBA, man. Like it can't stand up on its own. I saw somebody say today that the WNBA is just a charity for lesbians, and no, it does not stand on its own. Maybe all this stuff is just a charity for lesbians that we're forced to pay after years of success. You must turn your thing into a charity for lesbians.
Did I see that Caitlin Clark did not get selected for the Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
How does that work? Isn't she the greatest female basketball player that ever lived?
Well, coming out of college, I mean, I guess she's only done so much, you know.
Like, I mean, because
she
we
just
were
barely
just talking
got to
about this.
the-
I haven't been watching. Like, does her team suck? Like, is she? I mean, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. That thing's like nobody's been posting her numbers, saying like how many, like her stats. Like all they talk about is isn't it amazing that she exists? But like, has she actually been any good?
No, I mean, first off, her team sucks, and I've seen like a lot of highlights of her like making great passes for her teammates to not be able to make a basic layup, and
Wow.
that
If
affects
she was
her.
the best one, why would she get drafted onto a shitty team?
That's
Because
what
the
happens.
shittiest team gets the
Teams
first
have high
pick.
drafts. Yeah.
Oh, is that what I guess? I don't know shit about drafts.
That's how that worked. Well, it used to be like it's funny because like for many years, like it worked very simply. Like the shittier you were, the higher your draft pick, and then they realized that teams were just tanking at the ends of seasons to try to get that good draft pick. So now, like in the NBA, there's this
lottery.
weird like lottery system. So like it's to try to encourage teams, like, you know, rather than just tanking it, you're supposed to fight, because like the higher you are amongst the shitty teams, the better weighted your lottery picks are. It's kooky.
What was weird about that is the first like 2 years they started that lottery system in the NBA. This is one of the reasons people think it's all rigged. Out of like 176 balls or something like that, the Orlando Magic picked first 2 years in a row. The first 2 years that they did it, and they were low in the lottery both times, so they only had like one ball in each, and they got Shaq and Penny Hardaway. Just, and everybody's like, "What? Are you kidding me? Like, how does that happen?" But yeah. That doesn't mean that the teams aren't shitty, and especially in the WNBA, like if they're shitty, they're real shitty. Like, have you watched WNBA highlights, man? Like, they are bad at basketball. Like, like they would not beat junior high boys, and I'm not exaggerating there. Like junior, not high school, junior high. Like if you
That's
found,
only because society told them so.
That's, as Adam Conover puts it, it's, you know, we structured it around men. There's like rules and dynamics we could change that would give women an advantage. Things like, you know, the height of the rim, the way the ball moves around.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? I got a replay of that Joe Rogan, Adam Conover.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Thing, and that's one of the things he said. Joe's like, well, okay, how's it made for men? And that's one of the things he said is the way the ball moves around. What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, I totally could see that. Like, I could see a sport designed around something that women have a huge advantage of. Like, you could design a sport that has huge amounts of like quick color recognition.
Sure.
And women could end up dominating that, you know?
Well, like,
but
I always understood that part of the reason why there's all kinds of events that female gymnasts do, that male gymnasts do, is that because, like, for one thing, all that twirling and spinning, that women's center of mass is closer to the center of their bodies, which is just a natural advantage for if you want to do spinning things.
Mm-hmm. It also, as far as like those aesthetic sports go, like nobody, maybe the men can do better and more in like the gymnast stuff. And I've seen some videos over time of
they're stronger,
you know, Olympian women watching the male gymnasts and being like, oh my gosh. But still, those ones, because they're more aesthetic, they get pretty darn popular. The women's, and it might be more popular, like the women's figure skating and the women's thing, because people like to watch it. You know, and I don't know
like
what the exact numbers are.
Has women's gymnastics been suffering?
No, like, it does great. Like, especially women's college gymnastics, and I actually know true Uber fans of the stuff. Like a bunch of true Uber fans who know all the
because
women and freak out if they meet one in public. Yeah,
like I know Utah has been really good in gymnastics for a few years.
I know real deal fans of the stuff who are just continuous fans of it. Yeah, but. I don't know, that all gets into more. I mean, it feels like everything's kind of centering around evolution in a weird way that I noticed this week, because first Zelf on the Shelf talked about the toughest thing to deconstruct. What do you think the toughest thing to deconstruct is? The toughest thing to deconstruct is
it's shame.
It's hard to deconstruct how much empathy one person can have.
It's a shame, but I actually think it's because they said realizing that we're just animals, which technically is like it's tough for them to deconstruct that we're evolutionary beings. I think they're really kind of saying that here. Let me see.
Well, it was pretty it's pretty funny watching them, because they said unshame everything. That's what they kept saying.
Yeah.
And it was like immediately, you know, alarm bells. You're like, oh, everything, huh? Unshame everything.
So they never saw the South Park where they shameless America. It's time for a shameless America.
But this is where I kind of get going, like going against the naturalistic fallacy. Saying there is a naturalistic fallacy and you must fight against it. Or like Jared says, it's even worse. You must fight against it. But even just not. If you're just saying like, well, you can choose to do what you want, which I think Troy and Jonathan kind of got into their thing with the evil psych thing. Towards the end, they were talking about Dawkins forging his new path, and Ayan saying, no, we got to maybe hold on to some tried and true paths. I think one thing that's just kind of true about forging your new path in an evolutionary world is new paths, things that are figured out through evolutionary processes are paved with death. And that's how you find out the thing that works is all the things that died. And so if you're something like forging out into some new direction or new path or something like that, you got to be willing to cull a bunch of the numbers. Like you're going to lose a lot of people in that route. And maybe you're going to find, oops, that kills everybody. Ooh, let's go. Oops, that kills everybody. I mean, I'm being like extreme with that, but that's a little bit of like the concept of the Chesterton's fence and all that sort of stuff. Of course, you can go find new ways or try to venture in the world to find new paths, but that's also perilous. And that's part of it. And like finding the path that works or maybe works better will be paved with death along the way.
No, you just like, I mean, all of the traditions about how you pick mushrooms. You know, it's like, well, why do we avoid that kind of mushroom? Like, well, go find out, kid. Go.
Did you guys ever watch? I was thinking of this dumbass movie. Did you ever watch Into the Wild?
No, about that dumb guy.
I can't believe like they talk
like
about
why did they make that guy into a hero? Like if they made it into a cautionary tale about a retard, that would have been fine.
Exactly. But I think that's actually kind of the exact proof.
Reads fucking Marx and Thoreau and then decides to go die in the woods, and they say like treat it like that's an incredible thing.
The movie made the exact point for me. Of course, you can go burn your money and forge your new beautiful way, and you'll eat some berries and die in Alaska in 10 seconds. But Sean Penn will make a goddamn movie about you. I mean, I guess you know, but that I think that's kind of one of the things that's misunderstood about evolutionary anything, you know, is that everything that we have is already forged out of plenty of things that failed. And it doesn't mean that what we have is perfect. It's just it's working. But if you go try to, you know, find your new way, making new things that work, you'll probably fail a whole lot. And some of those failures can be civilizational level catastrophic. And one of the things that blew my mind the most, there's this Catholic historian named Ryan Reeves, and he talks just about all the different tribes. Troy showed in that John. Do you guys watch Troy and Jonathan this week?
I didn't see that.
I didn't see the new one.
So he had this video of a tree, and it showed how religions evolved, and it kind of showed it as a tree growing and branches growing and all those things growing to kind of say, hey, even evolution was like this evolutionary process that looks like a tree branching out and trees growing and all that stuff. But one of the things Ryan Reeves gets into is it is so you do not know over the past 2,500 years how many little entire tribes of people came and went and failed and died, like completely obliterated. Like, not one or two or three or four or five or six or seven or 1,000. It's so many, which kind of blows my mind because I used to think that was one of the weird things about the Book of Mormon. Not that the Book of Mormon's great at this, but I'd be like, how did all those people come and all those people go? I think their numbers are a little bit higher or something like that. But it is true that through Europe, through the same time frame, all sorts of entire ites appeared and vanished. So many of them. So many.
No, it's funny because like we think about Rome, like, oh, Rome was the civilization that formed in the Italian peninsula. It's like, well, no, there was the Etruscans. Like the Etruscans were a whole different people with a completely independent language and like and statues and cities and all this shit. And like when Rome was founded, that was ancient shit. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's so many of them I couldn't. I mean, I've just listened to them and listened to them. And I just can't even believe how many came up. This is the Into the Wild dumbass movie. This guy, he's like,
what did he do? Like he watched something and got inspired.
He was a rich kid. What was his name? Brian McCandless.
Yeah, it's a book, and Sean Penn made it a movie from the book. And the whole thing just acts like he's just so brilliant, forging a new way into the world. And it starts out with him taking all his trust fund money from his parents and burning it. And then he decides to just disappear, to go off to live alone in Alaska. And the whole thing's about him kind of
Christopher McCandless. That's
Christopher McCandless. Yeah. So he's basically hitchhiking to Alaska to go live there by himself. And he has like a book of how to survive in the wild or something like that. And right when he gets to Alaska, like the first winter or whatever he gets there, or summer even, he goes across a river. He doesn't realize that river is just barely starting in Alaska, and very soon it's going to be way too fast and big and uncrossable. So he couldn't come back. and then he ate some berries and poisoned himself and died. And that's it. That's the story. Hate to keep. Oh, man, I'm spoiling so much.
So, yeah, you're spoiling it. I was gonna see. Here's the thing: is like I understand that instinct, right? Like I get it. Anytime I like play Red Dead Redemption or whatever, like man, I wish I had like a camp with my pals where I just like I'd go out and shoot a deer, and then the cook would cook it up, and then we'd just drink beer and sing songs around the fire. I'd be so much better than this. Obviously, you can't jump into it because I don't know how the fuck to survive.
Yeah, I mean that's just exactly what it is, and of course you can venture off into the world to create your own path and byways and stuff. You'll probably die. You'll probably die.
Is this just a parent thing? Like, is this a consequence of growing up really rich that you just have to be stupid and naive? Like that. What was her name? That French artist, Pipa Boca, like a long time ago, who decided to prove that people are too scared of Muslims. She like put on a wedding dress and hitchhiked across the Middle East, and the first fucking country she was just raped and murdered.
There's more. I know of more than 5 of those stories now.
I know, but that's one of those things where I'm like, oh no, you believe the stupid thing that you say that you believe. Like clearly you do because you staked your life on it and you died.
Well, that's part of one of the deals that like Sam and Tanner. This is an actual picture of the guy. He took pictures of himself as he was dying in Alaska. He found this bus.
Did he know
and
he
stayed
was
in the
dying?
bus. Yeah, he knew he was dying. He couldn't eat anything. He even caught a moose, but he couldn't eat it because he poisoned himself.
No, yeah, I think he died of what they call it, rabbit starvation, where it's like you're eating, but you aren't getting enough of basic nutrition to actually live.
Jesus.
Yeah, he poisoned himself by eating like a type of berry that there was like no cure for, and died slowly. Took pictures of himself and wrote in his diary about it in the meantime. But
I guess that's kind of interesting. I don't know.
It's interesting, but if you watch the movie, the way they talk about him, like he was some like path-finding genius or something like that.
The reason so I had forgotten that Rosebud Cringe was this week. The reason I had nominated these two dipshits for Cringe Lords of the Week. Well, I mean the whole video was pretty cringy. Their whole unshame everything, but man, that I would really like to never again hear Tanner talking about dildos. Like they went and sought out a sponsor, and they're like, "How about butt plugs?" Like we're degenerate. And he's like, "This one right here is a game changer." Oh, please stop! It has some great suction. Oh God, please stop forever.
So you had a great week where Jonathan and Troy talked deeply about the evolutionary psychology of religion, but you got the real stuff here. This is where you get the real stuff.
97% and 98% of my DNA with bonobo chimps. That seems to check out.
150 with a banana.
And you got to unshame the part of you that is just a banana.
It's interesting that you're talking about, you have to kind of reconnect with the fact that you're an animal after leaving religion, or kind of just generally a lot of people in society need to do that, religious or not, because really so much of unshaming work is letting the soft animal of your body love what it loves, as we're always saying on this channel. It's interesting how many layers of shame have.
I just take a shot every time she says unshaming work.
Unshaming work is letting the soft.
Yeah, it's like a little cult thing. They also go into Jordan Peterson in this one, which is hilarious because they're talking about how disappointing it is that when they look up Jung shit, Jordan Peterson's like the first thing they see. Yeah. And then she gets into a whole bunch of Jung shit.
Yeah, well, they say it's great that Jung has great good stuff, and it's a shame that Jordan Peterson's stolen so much from him.
The other thing that's fun about this stuff is with them though, is because like when she talks about like, oh, the hardest part about deconstruction is realizing you're an animal. Guess how I know that like it's in the last 3 weeks that Sam realized that she was an animal. Like that's, if she starts talking about something, it's because she just learned it.
Unshaming work is letting the soft animal of your body love what it loves, as we're always seeing on the
This is like she's a life coach. So what she has to do, like, it's a virus and it's slowly taking over more and more of her mind, and eventually she'll speak entirely in platitudes.
Yeah.
What you have to do is, but you need to start decentralizing the pathways in your synergy and get to the integrated parts of your deconstructionism journey as you move to unshaming work.
Learn to love yourself.
Buy
And then
my
yourself
dildos.
will love.
Buy my dildos. Buy
Let
them.
me
We've been powered onto
buy
us to
dildos from me
read
and
the
let
fact
me
that we
give you
are-
advice.
Are animals, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, all the willpower in the world can't change that basic reality, and the ways that it's been obscured from us, like the powers that be don't want us.
It's been
connecting with the fact that we're
obscured.
primates.
The powers that be don't want us connecting with the fact that we're animals. Yet, I showed you guys that whole video last week that BreadTube is super against evil psych nowadays, man. Like they found out, like, and that I watched the whole extended video, and it can all be boiled down to that the chick thought that evil psych was prescriptive and not descriptive. You know, it's like, chick,
Yep.
we're describing, we're not prescribing here. You know, but once again, I think that naturalistic fallacy goes a little bit too far, because I think you can grab some prescriptions from it. That's why it's interesting to people. That's why I have a HOMAS thing, because HOMAS talking about the same stuff right now. But
Yay.
you can get prescriptions out of the descriptions, maybe, but I think people are kind of like leaving that to the people to think about rather than telling you that it's got to be this way. But I think you guys, everybody in the social constructivist world, are the most shit at recognizing this. They are the most shit at recognizing that we are animals, and that we are evolutionary beings, and that our procreative processes are part of that evolutionary process, and we are all in it. No, our brains are not outside of it. No, socialization did not overcome every little piece of our animalization, and that's the left that says all that stuff. You doinkers.
And the only time they seem to realize that we are animals is with bonobos. Like, that's it.
Because bonobos had lots of sex.
Yeah, the reason is because bonobos just fuck whatever, and they don't, like, that's their fantasy. It's just like, you to fuck whatever. Nobody cares about like, actually, I don't know anything about bonobos, really. I guess maybe I'm totally wrong in my perception, but because everything I learned about them, I hear from lefty hedonist hacks like this. And so my impression of bonobos is that they just fuck everything all the time. There's no jealousy. Like, if you, yeah, sure, fuck my wife, whatever, that's fine with me. I'm gonna go fuck this dude or chick. Who cares? We're bonobos. We fuck anything.
I know
like, yeah, we're
that
like
I hear
that.
a
We're
lot
not
of
at
talk
all
from
like
feminists
chimps.
that bonobos the females like to rub their junk on each other. Or like,
Sure.
I don't know how they learned to
Did
do
they create
that.
a force? Did they create force
Like,
babies?
Do bonobos even have a word for scissors?
Do bonobos create Jedi? Do they rub on each other and go, the power of one?
Here we go. Although a male bonobo is dominant to a female in a dyadic interaction, depending on the community, socially bonded females may be co-dominant with males or dominant over them, even to the extent that females can coerce reluctant males into mating with them. Oh yeah, that doesn't happen in humans.
Man, these mating processes, which brings up what I put as the
Anyway, it's just
thread.
funny because we're all socialized to not be like bonobos, because the only mammal mating strategy in the world is bonobos. We leave out chimps, who are also a pretty close relative, who have a wildly different mating strategy than bonobos, where they will fuck you up if you have sex with their woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings up what I put as
Social
the
conditioning.
thumbnail, the sneaky effer situation. This dude got called out by the circular firing squad over there on the left. His name's Brad Kramer, and it looks like I watched an extended podcast of him and Dan McClellan reviewing Under the Banner of Heaven like a year ago. And I wanted to wedgie Dan McClellan's atomic wedgie, like an atomic wedgie, so hard you could not believe it, because they spent the whole time eating popcorn through the whole thing, and I still sat and listened to it. And that, if RFM thinks that's unprofessional, he better go at Dan McClellan, because that whole entire thing is him just shoving their faces full of popcorn. And I will give them an atomic wedgie, and it will be for that. Once I do that, all the other things aside, it will be for the popcorn. This is
the last
dude.
straw.
That's the last straw. First, it was the first straw too. Yeah, Dan, I wouldn't have so much a problem with you if you just didn't shove your face full of popcorn on this.
Now
whole,
you're gonna finally meet him. You're gonna give him a huge wedgie. He's gonna be on the ground. He's like, was that for subverting Western culture with normalizing degeneracy? No.
No. Christmas replies, wedgies have no inherent meaning. They just are.
This is not the exact thing that Paul preached against. You know, he said that you can do a wedgie, but it's got to be a front wedgie against somebody who has not procreated with a virgin. You know, that's this is the guy right here, and this is the under the banner of heaven discussion. It's not till later. He's the popcorn. I'll save you from the popcorn. But I think this is really funny because if you listen to this discussion on discussion number 1. You can tell they're really, really ready to run defense for under the banner of heaven because they give you a 45-minute description of post-structuralism. Like, you got to understand that when they're doing stuff and showing stuff, like the semiotics and the signs and the symbology of the words are not trying to be exact. They're just trying to convey a message, you know, type stuff. But then by the 4th or 5th one, they're like, "This sucks." Like they agreed that it just didn't seem like Utah at all to them.
Even McClellan can't subvert.
Both of them were like, "What the hell is this?" Let me see if I can Control F. Structure.
I had speaking of, oh man, you know how I said I don't want to have the objective morality conversation, just like I don't want to have the free will conversation. It's the same reason, right? Because I think everybody acts as if they have free will, and they're better acting as if they have free will. So who cares? The same thing with objective morality. Everybody acts as if morality is objective. So, you know, whatever, except some psychopaths, I guess. Anyway, we got into it on Thoughtful Saints a little bit. Man, that's been a hell of a, I don't think anybody ever, when they say objective morality, I thought we were all on the same page with what that would be, you know, but we're clearly not. we got into it about gay marriage over there or just homosexuality. And I was like, well, I don't view homosexuality as a sin, so that doesn't really make sense to me. And they're like, well, it is a sin. You don't believe in objective morality. He's like, well, I pretty much do. I just don't think that's immoral. And no, because you don't believe it's immoral, then you don't believe in it. No, it's like, okay, here's the thing. You believe in objective morality, and so do I. And one of us is wrong about this. That's what it means. You know, it might be objectively wrong. You might be right. I'm wrong about it. But fuck, it's insufferable. I was trying to.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things I don't miss, and arguing with Jacob Hansen about objective morality is one of them.
Oh, I called. Did I show you? I called Hayden a wiener.
No.
Oh,
I did. I was.
No, to us. I'll play.
You got away with that too.
This is the guy who got canceled here on the left with Dan right here. We'll talk about more in a second. I'll just play a little bit of
that's
like Dan talks about in the
social memory, and that has a lot to do with curating our boundaries and our values and our power structures. And when our pasts converge, we have to do a lot more work to say, no, they're different. They're not part of our group, but it serves our structuring of power to exclude them. It serves in many ways, of their structuring of power to be included. And so
could you imagine going and watching Under the Banner of Heaven and saying, well, now I got to listen to these two yets talk about it.
I'm sure you're going to get a huge range of things in that Sunstone group, but probably if you go looking, you'll be able to do things like find actual people who were family to the people involved and stuff commenting on it as well. And that's
the guy. Anyway, that's the guy who
got
canceled.
I didn't read the whole thing about what this guy did because to
me, he supposedly just women who were hurting and leaving the church. He ended up hitting on all of them and having sex with them.
Oh,
according to a random gay dude on.
Wait, okay, hang on.
on.
Look,
Twitter.
this guy looks like a dork, but like, I would have to hear more details to condemn. Like, he just had sex with a bunch of women.
According to random gay guy,
He abused his position of power.
Yeah.
Do these people think that women like are even moral agents at all? Like,
No.
No.
Feminists,
No.
they're
Oh,
feminists.
how dare you!
Feminists cannot acknowledge that women can be or are capable of
it really
any
all is
level of responsibility.
It really is all just woke projection. Every
Yeah.
time they call me sexist, I'm like, no, I think women are adults who can do things.
Yeah.
I think if a woman has sex with a man, like, that's her choice to do it. And
No, women are
Yeah.
totally capable of having inadvisable affairs with Mormon commentators on the internet. It's
And
a
they're
thing.
powerful.
They can do it.
okay,
Like the patriarchy won't even stop them, which is funny because like it's the evil conservative Christians who are like, you know what, ladies, don't cheat on your husband with the guy on the internet. Like, don't do that. But that's actually just trying to control their body.
Shame. Can you unshame that? Like,
it's
she's
shame
an
and they're
animal who's
controlling
just trying to
bodies.
love what her animal body does, which is some get completely tricked by a sneaky effer male feminist, and that's sometimes just what her animal body loves to do. But she's a victim for that and needs to be taken care of. But it was not shameful. It's just what she wanted and needed for the time. And how dare he? He must be destroyed.
Her truth was so lived.
Yeah.
I was waiting for this guy to be like, I don't know, maybe he is a sneaky fucker, and like it sounds like he was just like, I don't have the bond, like I don't have the constraints of Mormonism anymore, so I can have sex with women. And it sounds like the women were just like, I don't have the constraints of Mormonism anymore, so I can have sex with.
Well, this guy claims that he did it all while he was married too, and saying that his marriage wasn't going well.
Okay, well, yeah, that's very shitty. I'll say that. Okay,
that's the Delin maneuver, right? Didn't we learn
that?
that?
That's shitty, but that's still not him taking advantage of women. Like
it is too.
You can, okay.
Somebody
wait.
goes through. If at any point in the past 10 years, people are going through like a religious change, that's trauma.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
How
trauma.
far removed do you have to be from the trauma before it can be like, okay, now I can have sex with you? What's the last traumatic event you had in? Women are never going to have sex again. None of them ever. Because if you ask them, what's the last trauma that you underwent in your life? Well, I had a really tough day at work. My boss got mad at me for not doing my job very well, and oh fuck, I can't fuck you for the next 8 years. So I'm gonna go find a trauma-free modern woman. And I'm gonna try to fuck her. Fuck it, I'm gay. I'm fucking men now.
I think Matt Walsh was talking something about like trauma-informed therapy and people who declare they have PTSD for all these different things nowadays, and the numbers are just astronomical of people who are claiming it.
Well, probably you were diagnosed with it too.
I won't read this guy's whole shit. I guess you can pause the screen if you haven't seen this online, but he just says, let's just say there was an ex-Catholic failed academic by the name of, I don't know. Well, I'll call him something weird, kind of random. Maybe something like Crad Bramer.
Hold on a sec. Keep, when you show the neck, just keep in mind when you show the other screenshots that he called him a failed academic. Yeah. Go on.
So that guy's name is Brad Kramer, who I just pulled up. It might be attached, but a lot of people thought that when he was writing this, he's talking about the Lynn. This guy is some Twitter. He's got a lot of followers on Twitter, and he's some therapist, and he has a bunch of past records of being praising of this guy.
The failed academic.
Yeah. What a silly goose my brain is to just randomly manufacture such a weird name. Am I right? I might change it eventually, but for now, I'll just go with this as a placeholder. LOLs. And let's say this protagonist, Crad Bramer, positioned himself very artfully in the ex-Catholic world. Let's say he so artfully mastered the skill of grooming and outward presentation that he even passed himself off as the brains behind the establishment within this community. Let's say he wants to be known as a baker, even though he wouldn't be able to proof a teaspoon of yeast if it bit him on the ass. What are you saying? He's not any good? I listened to this whole podcast on Under the Banner of Heaven. I guarantee you he could pump out a shitty postmodern paper, Josh Weed. I promise you he could do that. If James Lindsay and Bogosian could pop out 20 of them in a couple weeks. And that he decided to pretend to be the creator and executive of a religion adjacent bakery or something. And let's say he showed up at the pretended to be the primary organizer of community meals there in the bakery, and lots of ex-Catholic culinary artists would come and literally break bread and share their various works in their shop right in the heart of the Catholic Church, most famous city. This would give Crad the aura of power and influence in his world. And then let's say he had access to lots of food lovers and other ex-Catholic culinary artists because this guy's insufferable.
This metaphor is getting away from him. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I wish you were just bullet pointed to said, I am accusing Brad Kramer of the following.
Now let's imagine this guy is really smart. This fictional character, based on nobody in particular, Crad Kramer is, and as I mentioned, spectacularly failed academic. Seriously, his academic career is so fucking pitiful. It is embarrassing. And this feeds into his profound sense of egoic inferiority. Yet at the same time, he is super good with words and is a very convincing writer. And let's imagine that he's studious.
That's a successful academic.
Yeah.
If you're good with words and convincing people that you're smart, that's all it takes to be an academic. You're not a. He's a great academic.
He just doesn't have enough fake papers, I guess, is all, very well the language of politics, oppression, and all the progressivism du jour of his day. Whoa! So you're saying that
du jour,
like a Machiavellian dark triad person, is just spouting this stuff for his own clout and place in the community, not because, I wouldn't. Am I talking about Dan McClellan now or Brad Kramer? That kitty, I hear the kitty. Is the kitty reading it? And that he talked about Charlie had his nuts cut off. Everybody pour one out for Charlie. Charlie's nuts. Let's say he even talked about a lot. It sounds like it happens to happen to you, Brad Kramer. And it's only a matter of time for Dan McCallion. Talked a lot about women and women's issues, and that he did so in a very convincing way that made him appear to be extremely progressive, extremely safe, extremely not like all the other guys.
Extreme progressive. But real quick, do you think we can get the world to just start calling, like, instead of neutering your dog, just call it Kathleen Kennedy? Like, oh, my dog got Kathleen Kennedy.
My dog got Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah.
He's gay and lame. Charlie, you're gay and lame now.
But let's just imagine this was very wrong. His insides were rotted. His egoic self behind the scenes was actually the part of him running the show. And instead of doing good things for good, Crad was building an elaborate ruse with which to live out his sexual fantasies with women. Lots of women.
I mean,
lots of vulnerable, hurting women.
He could be doing both. I don't know. Maybe he wants to be famous, ex-Mormon famous, and maybe he also wants to be a fake academic, and maybe he also wants to fuck a lot of women.
Yeah, those aren't incompatible goals.
Unfortunately, it's just unfortunate for him that those women happen to have gone through a painful experience recently, because those you can't fuck those women because they're too, I guess, dumb to know that they're not supposed to fuck after they've had a painful experience.
He got off on it. He got off on all of it. I just clicked through them. So if people want to pause and read them, you can pause and read them because I'm not going to keep going through all of this. But I just post up once again talking Evo Psych stuff. The sneaky fucker meme. The sneaky fucker. That's what Zuby said right there about I can't even read it. Can you read it? Is it
being a male feminist is primarily a cunning mating strategy. 1. Sneak in under the radar by holding a sign, using some hashtags, and denouncing rival males. 2. Then try to smash once the guard is dropped. Cuttlefish do the same thing. It's evolution.
Yeah, and then it just has the Maynard Smith who actually coined the term sneaky bugger in evolutionary biology. But once again, we're doing evolution. That guy, how is that guy not just doing what his animal body loves?
Yeah, let's unshame that.
Yeah, his animal body just wants to blend in with a,
I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a very hyper-specific set of circumstances in order for you to be an adult and for me to say that, yeah, you were groomed.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to be, I don't know, like retarded. or
least
chained
the
up in a
Rosebud,
basement,
or
chained up in a base.
Rosebud.
Yeah, or Rosebud. Obviously, I believe Rosebud.
This is a whole 257 pages of text between Rosebud and John DeLynn that they released.
So cringe.
And wait a minute, Jared, didn't you like share like a song that John DeLynn told the sheriff? I read 27 pages of it and I couldn't.
I just skipped to like the end and read that, but yeah, he sent her a really shitty song.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the song.
They got pretty flirty, and I stand by since forever that if he was middle management in some company where there was enough employees that it would affect the EEOC, that they would take care of it, his ass would have been suable and the company would have fired him. But if you are a nonprofit under 15 employees and the person who runs it, it's not going to affect you very much because those laws don't touch you. And I do think RFA is somewhat dishonest about that in talking about the way Rosebud's shit got tossed out. However, Rosebud doing the same thing Jen did and trying to go after RFM was a dumbass, shitty move itself. But it sounds like Rosebud's a turd in her own right. But
it seems like a mega.
Yeah, no, that does really bug me because you're right that Bill Reel is happy to let people have the impression that Rosebud's thing got thrown out on the merits, and it didn't. It got thrown out on jurisdictional.
Yeah,
it was purely it was a technicality. Like on the merits, John DeLynn, that he should have been forced out of his job and fired and all that stuff.
Forced out of a job, or if he's the owner of some place, because like I can't force out my owner of a place. I guess they maybe sort of did it at Harvey Weinstein because it was rape, but be forced to pay some large amount.
Yeah. But yeah, they like make it sound like, oh no, it got thrown out because it was bullshit. Like, no, it wasn't bullshit. It was totally legitimate. I was like, God damn it, what is wrong with like how does John keep getting taken in by these manipulative borderline women?
He's got
What's
a type
going on there.
He's got a type. He's just well, I'm gonna be honest. I'll pay John a compliment. I think he could do better. Like I think John could pull some R's. Can he pull some R's? John could pull some R's. Like, come on.
Oh yeah, I mean he's got.
If this crad Bramer's pulling a bunch of ass, like John DeLynn, like Don DeLynn couldn't pull some.
Don DeLynn, yeah, he should have. No, he should have been able to do better than that. Yeah, because he's I mean he's like ex-Mormon rock star #1, and Kara made. I remember Kara made that really stupid TikTok where she's like, "It never in a young 30-year-old woman who's happily married life did she think I want to fuck John DeLynn." Like, that's just not true. Like, if John DeLynn wanted to fuck some exmo groupie, he totally could.
We've said from the beginning that he has success head. He's got that big old Guy Smiley or Ben Affleck or Conan O'Brien head. If you have success head, just success head alone is enough to pull some arse, man. And then he actually has like a podcast and money and all that sorts of stuff. And he's tall and he still has like all his hair. Of course, Don DeLynn could pull some arse. Like definitely something better than Rosebud. Like, come on, Don DeLynn. One of the worst things I ever did as an HR guy, I'm going to confess it. It's a long time ago now, a couple companies ago now. So I'm past the statute of limitations, which probably isn't true at all. I had a report that this guy who had success head and was a very, very attractive looking older dude and had a very, very attractive wife. I got a report from a basic tweaker that they had been banging, and I didn't believe it. I should have believed it, you know, but I found out because I got proof of it or something. Like, not that I should have believed it. They say trust but verify or something like that. And yeah, it turns out that they had been banging, and I was like, what? And John DeLynn running around with Rosebud reminds me of that situation. Like, come on, John.
A tweaker.
I don't know much about her, but like whatever pictures I can pull up, it's like, come on, John. But as I've said since forever, Don DeLynn is that we over here, the people that you ostracize, are the only ones that would actually hold out for due process like you would not for Brett Kavanaugh and say, we don't believe this until we believe it or see it. I mean, I guess there's a lot to believe in, like in the situation with Rosebud, that Don Jolene actually got fresh with her in a way that it wouldn't be good for a supervisor or owner to get with his underlings. But this other guy too, we have to hold due process because of this meme right here. Not sure if male feminist is sneaky effort.
You're not showing the screen.
Not sure if you see the thing, or has it got the
I got the Bojack.
I still
thing
see
up.
Bojack.
It's because of that comes from slides instead of the screen. There it is. Not sure if the male feminist is sneaky effer or the female feminist is a hyper accuser. And, you know, it's 50-50. Or that the random gay commenter on YouTube is just telling tales way out of school and full of shit or whatever. But we'll hold out. We'll keep the null hypothesis.
This dude, I don't think he would. I wouldn't come out that strong without some pretty intense evidence. I mean, I wouldn't come out that strong at all. That was just,
I don't know, like, part of me,
retarded.
like, I kind of wonder if he's implicated in any way. It's like the way he's coming out so strong. There's a little bit of deflection, maybe. I don't know.
When he's
been
acting
dealing with
like
this guy for a long time. It's like I gotta wonder, like, is he worried that he is gonna get blamed for something in all this?
when he's acting like he knew it the whole time or something. Like he's like, all right, that's what we're gonna see a lot of in the coming.
Well, that's what I
week
wonder.
or
Is like,
so.
is somebody gonna
It's
say
just
like,
a bunch
hey,
of people. A bunch of people are gonna be like, I had a feeling about that guy. I knew something was up with him. But yeah, he's acting like he understood that this guy was stupid all along. Like, he failed academic. But then he's like quoting him all the time, like back before he.
Yeah.
Look at the names of these
he's
under
a
the banner
failed
of heaven.
academic. You're a failed fanboy.
The names of these under the banner of heaven discussions. Rhetorical goals of the series.
Oh God.
The relationship of religion to violence. How Mormons indicate patriarchal. Like, who went to listen to alleged Rapey McGee and postmodern Pablo here talk about under the banner of heaven at some random house? Like, oh my God, guys, I got those inside tickets to go. They're talking about under the banner of heaven. Wow.
The cinematography is, I think, very.
Look at this asshole eating a popcorn. I still remember, it's like a year ago. I don't actually mind it that much. I just mind that it was like just nonstop the whole entire thing. Something for RFM who hates that to consider. Anyway.
Poor old Brad Kramer.
Old Brad.
Sorry, Brad.
I usually go to home ass talking about Evo Psych stuff because
I love it.
It's a longer video. It's not just like watching them talk about stuff, but it's just in theme with what everybody's talking about. It's this guy's a sneaky effer. Troy and Jonathan are talking about it with religion, and Sam and what's his bucket are talking about it with what you call it, with the animals, and gotta love, unshame your animalistic self. How fast would Sam shame me if if I was just some random animalistic frat boy dude and went and like, come on, you would shame faster than anybody.
You don't shame anyone. They're all. It's all bullshit.
We might be stuck in a pattern of civilizational collapse, and it's because our relationships are not as strong as they used to be. This video is a long overdue answer to the question, why is promiscuity bad? The answer is kind of complicated. Let's start with this. Why would promiscuous behavior, as pictured here, cause a collapse of civilization? I put together this map. It's originally created by Ken Wilber. This is just my easy to read version as a quick reference for developmental psychology, how people's minds develop individually from birth until wherever you stop, and how that affects the development of society and culture. And over here, there's this little grid that shows the individual mind and culture and individual behavior and society. The way that people's minds work is going to form a culture. The way that culture works is going to shape society. The way that society works is going to influence your mind, and the way your mind works will influence your behavior. All these things are interrelated. So society, which we depend on for everything we have, is based on the way that we relate to each other, which is falling apart very quickly, due in large part to acceptance of promiscuous behavior. There's a bunch of little heartbreaks and lower relationship strength. Our relationships also suffer because we don't understand each other, and that's something you can fix. And today's sponsor, Ground News, can help. You are on the internet right now, so you're confused. We all are.
Let's get that.
Where your news is coming from. Students in red states. There's a bias comparison. Ground News shows you who's reporting on inclusivity, while right or scan the QR code. You'll get 40% off the Vantage
My
plan.
God, there's a lot of news.
Understand each other, we tend to do what we want instead of thinking about what's right. Basically, when people are allowed to do whatever they want, it degrades us from this stable model of courtship and relationship formation to this unstable one. In the old one, we could have stable marriages that were enforced by social conventions, and in the new one, there's a few guys who get all the attention that they can handle, and so they don't commit to women, and therefore most of the women get played and dumped over and over, and these guys get no attention, and that makes everyone unhappy, and it also is really bad for stable marriages that produce children. And this model is only possible when people believe I can do whatever I want and you can't judge me. If you allow people to behave like this, then they stop.
Hey, is he talking against shame? This arsehole.
Building this, and it turns into this. Modern people believe that the world is made of individuals. It is actually made of relationships, in the same way that a pile of bricks is not a building. In order for the building to work, the bricks have to be arranged in a certain way, they have to be connected, and once the bricks start saying, I don't want to be part of a building anymore, I want to do me, then the building starts decaying, and then the other bricks say, well, if you're not doing your job, then I won't do my job. And we go from a building to a pile. A big part of this decay is the sexual revolution, which is actually just a decay. It's reverse development. We are going from higher levels down to lower ones. I've been over this in previous videos. This one's called Saturday Scaries. Basically, all cultures have to grow through these levels. You can't skip stages. And when a culture develops from this low impulsive stage to the rules and roles stage, they come up with strict social norms, and they eventually grow to the achiever stage, which is like corporate, keeping up with the Joneses, and eventually into this sensitive, individualistic hippie stage where people start saying, hey man, everyone's like unique and we should all do what we want, bro. And at that stage, they have a tendency to get rid of the rules at this stage, and then all of the new people who are born, because everyone's born at stage one, they don't have any rules to learn to grow up to the next stages, and it causes developmental arrest, and people get stuck down here. That's what we're experiencing right now. So this is not moving beyond the rules, it's just getting rid of them. Way back at the beginning of my channel, somebody asked me, why is promiscuity bad? I didn't even have colored pencils yet. There's the old version of the drawing. I think she thought she got me. I don't think she expected this as an answer. So this perception has become really common. Ironically, it's coming from a really high level of development. What they're saying is that we should all be allowed to do what we truly want and be who we are, and society's rules are just holding us back from our true selves. And that might...
That sounds like Sam and... What's the guy's name? Why am I forgetting the names when we have to beat up 55?
Tanner, man.
55 Tanners.
Yeah.
Be true if both you and...
How many Tanners could Crad Bramer take?
I bet he could take it, I don't know, 5 or 6.
How many Crad Bramers could Dan McClellan take? Oh, wait, I said the wrong one. How many Tanners could
Oh, how many
Dan
Tanners
McClellan?
could McClellan? He seems relatively fit. I don't know.
He's relatively fit and he always wears like Marvel stuff, so maybe he's tough.
Yeah, tough.
Your partner or partners are at this level, but that's really, really rare. So if you are a young person growing up and you hear that message that society is just holding us back from what we really want.
You think I could challenge Dan McClellan to a YouTube Jake Paul boxing match?
Do it.
Just the same Kwaku and
You're not going to hear it at this level because you are not there yet. You're going to hear that message at the level that you are on, and it's going to sound like everyone else is trying to get their own way, and so I'm going to get mine. And the more that gets reinforced, the more you stay stuck, unable to learn the belonging and cooperation skills that are necessary to keep moving up the ladder. In other words, if you want people to develop to these higher stages, which we do, they have to learn the rules before they can break them. Like if you want to do bike tricks, you have to start with the basics. You want to be a jazz musician, start with hot cross buns. So again, this message, it's saying, why bother learning the rules before breaking them? And it's leaving a lot of people stuck. And then those stuck people will not be able to keep civilization functioning. We have known this for a long time. Back in the 12th century, some guy named Salahuddin Ayyubi, liberator of Jerusalem, that's probably debatable, but he sounds important. He said, if you want to destroy any nation without war, make adultery or nudity common in the young generation. Sound familiar? This is from a website called Muslim Skeptic, and they need your support. Apparently, relying on Allah is not working out. The Muslim world is very much concentrated at this level right now, the rules and roles level, the control of self and others through faith and discipline level, the fundamentalism level, and that's because they experienced their own collapse a few centuries ago. I just spoke to Rudyard Lynch of What If Alt Hist about this. Check out his channel. And he explained to me that history does not work like this. It's not, feminism was invented yesterday and now everyone's going to be happy forever. There really are a lot of fluctuations between feminine and masculine control of society, and if you get too far in either direction, things get bad. And the Islamic world went too far.
In that thing today, Tanner and Sam said it was just all straight patriarchy and terrible patriarchy through all history. I mean, it's basically that first chart they showed, according to them. Like it was all just terrible patriarchy, and now we have the feminism, and now it's only upward and onward.
Yeah, we figured it all out now.
And had
It's
an
fixed.
overcorrection, and now they are still hanging out up here. Some of this even happened recently. This was Iran in the 70s, and so was this. They look like they're from Wisconsin. That was before the Iranian Revolution. And let's not forget Afghanistan, then and now. So this lie that the more feminist things get, the happier everyone's going to be, it just is not real life. In reality, hyper-feminization causes its own problems, and the reaction might not be fun. What are these problems caused by glorious feminist freedom? Well, as women become liberated from men, which means getting materials that men produce without having to marry them, women experience a greater ability to choose, and they no longer have to settle for someone who is exactly on her level. Women become more free to pursue somebody who might have a full dance card and might not be interested in anything long term. This matches the results we get from dating apps. Women seem not to be very interested in most men, at least not until women get to know those men. This more equitable style of pairing off is what happens in tight-knit communities. But those tight-knit communities come from living at this level, where the mentality is to do what is right in order to get what is good in life. Nobody wants to do that anymore. They'd rather do what they want. People who live at this level look Amish to us now. We are therefore no longer bound together. It's every man for himself. And when people do what they want, that's level 3 here, instead of doing what their community wants for them, doing what is right according to the rules and roles of your culture, people no longer form or remain in these stable and equitable relationships because there's no social or cultural pressure to do so. It takes a village. They just go, I'm not happy, because everyone's going to be not happy at some point in a relationship, and you need something to keep you together. Without that, people just bail out into this mess where there's no social or cultural oversight. And when that happens, when nobody is keeping your relationship together, then everybody tries to just do the best that they can, and that gives very lopsided results, because men who are very high in demand will often sleep with women who are not very high in demand, and it just doesn't work the other way around. Like Taylor Swift is not out here picking up guys who work at McDonald's. So promiscuity is bad because it means do what I want. And doing what you want means that nobody has any say over whether or not you stay in your marriage but you. So as soon as it feels bad, you're going to leave, and you're going to jump into this disaster where you're going to go look for the best you can get, and you're going to convince yourself that this guy almost married you even though he would never be seen with you in public. And then you're going to get your heart broken so many times that you're just going to start hating men, and you're going to go, all men are the same, all men, even though you're only talking about these men.
I love that ghost thing that shows, like, all men,
Yeah.
any man under an 8 is not a human.
And these men down here are so completely detached from society and hopeless that they don't have any reason to contribute to society at all. And then everything falls apart because nobody is building. So in terms of development, these people, who are a small percentage of the population but tend to be very powerful because they're smarter and richer, they're saying we should be allowed to do what we want as long as we don't hurt anyone.
So I think one of the things that's funny about this autistic dude, like I was given the promise at the start of Zelf and the Shelf that they deconstructed this. And in my Dan McClellan way, I go, all right, let's see it. And what I get is, man, we're just animals in love, man.
No, it's kind of like hippie
Great
bullshit.
deconstruction.
It was like a guy found out about hedonism, like by reading the wiki page, and then was like, "Well, I know all the things." Yes, I guess Flip already said it. Yeah, she learned about this last week, and so she's telling everybody about it.
Yeah, but then you get some other people, most of them autistic, red pillish type men on the internet, and that's what that red tube chick was complaining about last week. And they've gone and taken this stuff, like they say that like the difference between like men and women is like men study systems and women like really just kind of study interpersonal connections or study or they work better on that level on average. But like this is deconstruction. And everybody talking about deconstruction. Like nobody's deconstructing shit. But these guys who are doing this stuff are deconstructing stuff, but they also almost get to a level of like, okay, but you're also viewing the world totally autistically now too, dude. Like so there's got to be some sort of balance struck it within it. But I'm going to put my foot down and say, until you're autistic, you ain't deconstructed shit. I don't know how else to put that.
And then once you're schizophrenic, you've deconstructed too much.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. There should be like a graph, like.
And that message is heard by these people.
Like, did you guys really break down all the things about being an animal or being an evolutionary psychologist or having an evolutionary psychology or what society actually is? Did you actually do all the assessments, or did you just say, "Hey, I turned out thought about it, and I really want to just do this my way"?
In ex-Mormon world, deconstruction just means like, well, I realized that I didn't actually like polygamy very much, and I realized that Joseph Smith was a polygamist, and it turns out there was some stuff I didn't know about him. That's deconstruction.
I didn't like to go to church, and the men were dresses, and women couldn't pass that. Deconstructed, like
yeah.
Make me some charts. Like as soon as all you deconstructors bring me some charts like this, I'll believe you that you're deconstructing.
We should be allowed to do what we want. And they don't hear the second part. And that leaves more and more people stuck down here, unable to ever learn how to not make everything about themselves. And that is a bad thing. So it's not controversial to say that promiscuity is increasing. What is controversial is how much and why it matters. But all the bad things you would expect to see are there. The birth rate is dismal. People are getting married later than ever. Rudyard told me that once that number reaches 28, it's bad news. So we might be stuck. The increase in single motherhood is not good for children. We've known that for a long time. And psychiatric medication rates are spiking amid ongoing uncertainty. Again, I'm pretty certain that it is the breakdown of society. When you switch from this to this, all of these guys and pretty much all women become less happy, and the only winners are just these guys up here who have all the options in the world, which is kind of funny.
So you created a patriarchy. How did that happen?
We've deconstructed feminism.
We deconstructed all the stuff, and it turns out, only the top few percentile of guys are really, really getting off in the world. How did it turn into that again? Wow.
The whole feminism thing was like, men are winning, let's switch to this. Now
that's like Adorno and all those guys' dialectic of the Enlightenment. Like every single thing that they do, man, it just turns out people like this stupid capitalism. Every time we try to deconstruct it, like, we like it.
Just less men winning. So once again, in short, these people at this level, the sensitive individualist types, they wanted to move beyond the rules and live their best lives. And they were foolish enough to believe that everybody could do that, which is false. They can't. So instead of working within the rules, they just got rid of them. And when you do that, everything collapses. So what is the solution? Well, we have to get away from this model where people do what feels good in the moment and back to this model where people make decisions that are good for them in the long term and good for their communities. But how are we going to do that if everybody is still stuck down here. We don't have any structure anymore. All of the messaging coming from media and universities and culture, it's all saying you are a special, unique individual and nobody should be able to tell you what to do. And so nobody is learning the basics of how to be a part of something that works. It's me, me, me. That's what's killing us. Now, on the other hand, China has actually increased its marriage rate for the first time in 9 years. How did they manage that? Well, the government has been campaigning to promote marriage. What does that look like? Well, I'm not sure, but I know
That's
what it doesn't look
insane.
like. I have referred to this phenomenon of women going after guys who won't commit as being stuck on her highest setting. It's also called being an alpha widow. It's when she remembers one guy forever who no one else can ever measure up to, and
alpha
she
widow.
dreams of being with him even though he's not coming back. Cultivating that attitude is central
That's
to this
Gone with
collapse.
the Wind.
So I'm going to finish my point with just a few
Gone with the
examples
Wind is Alpha Widow for sure. There's a bunch of movies that are about Alpha Widows.
of what this does to the minds of Western women. Yes, even grandma. These are all just TikToks that I collected over time. They were all very popular. This is what women are saying to each other. Here we go. Celebrity crush. She says, all that work and what did it get me? Because she pulled her celebrity crush and doesn't like regular people anymore. So she pulled her celebrity crush, but could not keep him because she's not at his level. And now that is her new highest setting. He's all she can think about, and normal guys don't do it anymore. For more information, watch Poll. Here's another. She's singing Gotta Whisper Cause I Can't Be Too Loud. She says this even though she posted it to the internet. She knows she's gonna drunk call the guy she really wants at her bachelorette party. I made this video a while back about a guy who proposed to a girl twice, and she said no twice, but she still wanted to be with him. And he got frustrated and said, what is she waiting for? And the answer was probably another guy who she wanted to come back and replace this one, even though he was.
So I dead seriously knew a gal. She's married and has multiple kids now, but she was telling me all throughout her dating relationship and what was it called, like being engagement, that she was waiting for this guy to call her up, and even got to the point where she told the guy that she's now currently married to about it. And this guy wasn't. I know this story literally, like definitely just
that's
genuinely
painful.
happened. Yeah, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this?" I was so confused about it. It was like 10 years ago, but.
Was never going to do that. And she already knows this is her in 10 years at her bachelorette party. Here's a girl who has to say goodbye to her type because she wants to be treated like a princess. So in order to get out of this area and into this area, she knows she has to settle for less, even though this guy is not her type. Here's another marriage one. She's planning to leave a man at the altar if her old buddy comes back. This one's hard. Something she's not ashamed of is she will always choose her ex-situationship over anyone that thinks they have me. That is brutal. She would drive 2 hours to see him and can't commit to a good guy because of him. You should be ashamed of that. Here's a girl skipping through the snow who's single but not really because she's loyal to the guy who won't text her back because he has better options. Same drawings over and over. Let's speed this up. On my way to engagement party, thinking of my ex, running back to a man who hurt her before. Ha 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 ha, wee! How could the known player have played me too? I'm so shocked. Forcing herself to go out with a good guy while waiting for the toxic one.
Almost all girls have that one guy that no matter what, if he were to text her at any point, she would be like, yes, let's be together. Like there's always that one guy. I don't know, it's either history or like he just is everything she wants and they're probably not together and they probably don't even chit chat. But the minute that he texts her, she's like, yeah, of course. I would leave anyone for him.
I was talking to my therapist about my man who's not my man but is my man, and she's like, okay, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but can I see a picture of him? And she pauses and goes, okay, I get it. I see
Oh
why
my
we're in
God.
this situation. She starts like cracking up and she's like, he's really hot. I'm like, I know. Score.
We all have that one like situationship. It wasn't even someone we dated, but it's like a situationship that we now compare everyone else to. And I mean that in a sense of like, you had a situationship with someone, like you bonded so well, you never actually dated, you guys never actually had a
saying
title or
that
anything,
word.
but they changed how you view
I hate
romantic
it.
partners. And so now it's like you talk to someone new and it's like, yeah, but they're not blank. They're not them. They're not this. They're not that. And you don't even mean to do it, but it's just like it naturally, like you naturally just think like, damn, like no one can compare.
Right. No one. who
Nobody
wants
was
you
that
can
like I
compare
just
to men who don't want you. And in case
I don't like her talking about naturally when she looks like that. Like you're not allowed to use the word natural if you're gonna do that
You
and then
are
go
ridiculous.
on internet. Yeah, you
helping
like
me grow
that's
up.
things like I don't know, like that's things like there's some women that I'm like, you know, like some women are really great at hair and makeup. Some women like do a lot of it and are bad. And that woman does a lot of it and is bad. She's just bad at it. You know, like that's things like, and I hesitate to judge because like I can't do it. I fully know that like I don't have like sense.
No, you can judge. You can judge.
No, I mean I can judge.
Like,
I guess I
it's
just
like
mean like
saying I hesitate to judge like football players because I'm fat. No, I'll if they make a stupid play.
I mean I guess so. I mean I just mean because like you know like because that's the thing is like I have no like aesthetic sense.
I know me neither.
Like I can't dress myself, and then I appreciate it when people are good at it. I'm like, wow, that's neat. I think it's neat when people are good at stuff that like to me is just like awful. But then also like with that lady, it's like, geez, lady, you just look terrible. Like you look like shit. Like she really looks like if she had stopped 33% of the way, like hair, makeup, eyebrows, everything, eyelashes, the whole bit. Like if she had stopped 33% of the way on all of that, she'd probably look really, really, really good. She like just kept going and going and going, and now she looks like she fucking came out of a plastic wrapper.
There's a certain level of makeup that just doesn't make you look even like a real person anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's like you're trying to hide what you think are just terrible blemishes and stuff like that, but then your skin doesn't look like skin anymore. It looks like silicone. That's just.
Let me tell you,
it's not supposed to be that smooth. It's weird looking.
Women under 30. I mean, first off, like all women ever, like honestly, all women ever. Stop with the fucking filler. Just stop.
Oh,
but also, like women under 30. Nothing makes you look 50 more than filler.
I know.
Like filler makes you look older. It really, 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 really makes you look older. And I know this because like I have a job where I'm seeing people's IDs all the time. And all the time I'm stunned where I'm like, oh, this woman's got to be 8 years older than me. And she's 15 years younger than me. And it's because of the filler. I'm not kidding.
Filler makes everyone look exactly the same age. And it's like...
And it's old. And 62. That age is old. Yeah.
It's 62 and it's gross looking too. This one's funny. Like, my grandmother is 85 and still talks about guys she dated when she was 19. Is the ultimate...
Wow.
Is the ultimate version of this the movie Titanic?
Yeah.
Like
Titanic, that's one.
Where you fuck a woman.
I think he mentions it. Let me see.
Out of it, just read that. And in case you're going to say not all women are like that, I love my guesses and feelings. May I refer you to the movie Titanic? Nothing on earth could come between them except for temperature. If you haven't seen Titanic, here's a timeline. It's about an old lady on her deathbed who had a long, full life with kids, grandkids, marriage, all the stuff. And all that she can talk about is the one time that a homeless guy her on a boat. Box office match. Do you see this blue line? That's Titanic. It beat Avatar. It beat Jurassic World. I don't know why that's there. But you see how these lines kind of die out and this one keeps going? That's how much women love the guy who is never coming back. They prefer him to the guy who proposed twice. I have been the guy who's never coming back. There are girls I could have called whenever I wanted. I didn't want to, and that is what they do not understand. They think we almost got married. No, you didn't. You were either forgettable or for now. That's where this diagram comes from. They all think that they almost got this guy, and that's why they don't want to settle for someone exactly like them. And that is what happens when you let people do what they want instead of making them do what is right. Prioritizing your selfish lower urges, right. What do I want, causes social decay. It's as simple as that.
I played that whole thing because I think it actually kind of sums up all the different stuff that Jonathan and Troy are talking about. Those guys are talking about. We're all kind of discussing evolutionary things in a weird way that we don't even always know it. Even you guys talking about the makeup and stuff. It's evolutionary stuff. We're just in it and barely aware that we're in it. But I think even the evolution of like how society develops and goes and changes and unfigures stuff out and fucks itself up and then gets back in line and turns back into something that's overly strict, and that whole cycle that's just eternal. We're just in it, and I maybe just barely now able to like stop and look at it at some sort of meta level, but probably even then, maybe no. You know?
Well, no, because we fixed it because modern society. We've actually beat evolution.
It's broken. We beat it. You don't have to think about any sort of pronomianism, which is like any sort of rules-based society.
I said it jokingly, but I think like most people, I feel like that's a human, like a very human reaction. It's just kind of feel like we've figured out society now. I have to imagine that every single society that's ever existed has thought that. Like,
Yeah, we got
man,
this
I'm so glad we're not like those guys back there and have figured out all the things, right? I mean,
and we can
I've
drop
had
those
so
old
many,
things. We can just drop all the old things because the
yeah,
new
well,
things are
I've
right.
had conversations with people at work about the difference in promiscuity between men and women, and they sincerely believe. They told me that it's all social conditioning. I'm like, no, these are evolutionary mating strategies that are different. So obviously we're going to be different. Like, do you not understand that there's different consequences for mating for men and women, right? Like women it's a drastic, like life-changing consequence if you mate with somebody who isn't going to be around to help you with the offspring, right?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, but that's like we have the pill now. For like what, 60 years? You think we could just
sort
like
of millions of years of
yeah, we've been evolving this way for millions of years, you fucking idiot. You really think that we just like, oh yeah, we don't do that anymore. We don't now women are just they like fucking strangers, just like men do.
Yeah. And not to say that there aren't some that start doing it. It's just then we still face consequences or even psychological consequences of thinking that you just beat it or it's done, it's gone, nobody.
Well, that's the problem. It's sort of this self-fulfilling hell spiral where you go and you fuck the person and then like you have the one night stand and you don't like the one night stand. You feel shitty inside. But all that tells you is that the social conditioning runs even deeper than you thought it did. So then you try to do it again, and it's just you just spiral even further into this bullshit. It doesn't even occur to you that maybe this is evolutionarily informed. Maybe this is in your physiology. Maybe it's not the social conditioning.
So like 10 years ago or so, I tried 2 separate times. I tried the casual sex thing that people told me was a real thing and that you could do. And like I negotiated, like laid it out there clearly. Like we're doing the casual sex thing. I tried it 2 times. I ended up with 2 stalkers.
Yeah.
Like
I just had a gal friend.
I
just had a gal friend I know tell me this week. She's like, "Oh, I'm on the Hinge just looking for a hookup." And I'm like, "You're just looking for a hookup, huh?" "Yeah, it's just a hookup." And I go, "I don't like trust any woman that says they're just looking for a hookup." And she goes, "I'm built different. This chick's been married 5 times." Like, I go, like you are not built different. You keep getting married each time. Like, if you were built different, you just would have banged 5 different guys.
Yeah, no, I totally don't believe it because I'm like, the first one I'm like, okay, maybe that was a fluke, but like 2 for 2, 2 for 2. All right, yeah. I'm not trying that ever again.
Well, but we even understand it. Like we put it in our stories and shit. There was 2 movies at the same time, like just stupid, shitty movies. It was like No Strings Attached. There was one with Ashton Kutcher and one with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah,
Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis had that, and then Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman. They had the same movie basically, is where they tried to be fuck buddies, and it's like the one rule is we can't fall in love. And then you're watching the trailer like, I wonder what's gonna happen. Are they gonna not fall in love? No, it's an archetype, man. We understand in our brains how the narrative has showed us how this shit works. We know they can't not fall in love if they're just fucking like that. And then eventually they have some dramatic scene at the end. I broke the rule. I fell in love with you. Like, you promised you wouldn't. No. Now we have to get married.
Yeah, and it's a popular movie, double popular movie, popular enough for 2 movies at the same time, man. I think they were both successful. Yeah, no, we can just beat the evolutionary psychology stuff because we can just outthink it. And even the stuff that is a bit higher on the scale, like the higher on the civilizational scale, we can just beat it because we just outthought it this time.
And the point is, like people like that who claim that every single thing like this is socially conditioned clearly have the hardest time believing that we're animals.
Yeah.
And because I can't tell you how many things I've heard both Sam and Tanner say are just socially conditioned or whatever. Like, no, you think that every habit we have is socially conditioned. And then you're over here saying, like, people aren't really good at understanding that we're animals.
Yeah. And then, of course, on the same one, they go, oh, it turns out Jordan Peterson's just a bigot, man. Well, if you'd actually deconstructed that we're just animals, let me introduce you to my friend's dog and see who that dog barks at. When like, I don't think you deconstructed that sort of thing. Like, why is racism a tendency in evolutionary beings? It's because it's a survival mechanism. If there is a bigotry, like you can't just, it's not deconstructing a thing, sneering your nose and saying you're a bigot. Like that's the ultimate thing of like talking about like that boomer truth regime sort of stuff. Like you guys think that you have deconstructed that stuff, certain things like immigration or race or IQ or different things like that by sneering and saying you're a bigot. Like that's not a deconstruction. Sneering and saying you're a bigot is not a deconstruction. That is a thought-stopping cliche, not a deconstructing. You guys don't deconstruct that stuff. And there's one of those areas of science, the difficult sciences that, most of the right wing gets their jollies off of pointing out that you guys don't dare to go there on any of that sort of stuff because you can't be scientific about it. You can just sneer and say, yeah, I'm it. But there's truth and reality to the world. And like Brett Weinstein says, there's something in evolution to offend everybody. Everybody. This guy figured out a good way to sell cars.
Y'all want to know who I date, who I go with?
Oh, God.
But I think you think you're black. Hey, we got a 25.
No, he does like find people who think they're black on TikTok and tries to sell them like cars that appeal to black people.
That's fucking awesome.
That's hacking. That's hacking the psychology, man.
Yeah, that's a whole. I live in Idaho, so I never experienced it. But that's a whole genre of woman that just they talk like they're black, and I mean it's the catch me outside girl,
Yeah. We found this picture of a photorealistic version of the Blob, and I thought it looked a little bit like Cardin. I think it's like. Flip, you found something that proves the Book of Mormon true, that there's two words for a sandal.
Oh yeah, that's so strange because in Mexico there's an ancient huarache is a name for like an ancient Aztec woven sandal, and then in Japan there's like a twine sandal called a waraji, which is a shocking coincidence. Yeah, huarache and waraji, but like there's no connection between them. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but like, isn't that crazy? Like I looked at this, like I thought, like, is this a thing where it's like, well, the Japanese, they came in the 19th century and blah blah blah. Like, no, like it's just a crazy coincidence. Waraji, huarache.
So it's only you making the connection, or were the article also making this connection? Huarache.
No, so like, because I'm a dork, I was looking up huarache because somebody was asking about huaraches, and I wanted to look it up. And then on the bottom of the huarache article, it says see also waraji, and I thought like, oh, is this like the Japanese adapted the huarache? And it's like, no, like it's just their ancient word for their ancient rope, like woven sandal thing. Yeah, huarache is also a tasty dish. It's funny, when I worked with a Mexican guy, I told him like, man, I tried something new yesterday. And he's like, what's that? A huarache? It's just funny because he was a Mexican. He's like, look, man, Mexico, they do corn, rice, beans. What's a taco? Corn, rice, beans. What's a burrito? Corn, rice, beans. What's a tostada? Corn. It's all just corn, rice, and beans. It's just funny, like, to hear a Mexican actually say this. Because, like, I was all excited. I'm like, hey, it's new. It's huarache. He's like, dude, it was corn, rice, and beans. Like, I thought it was pretty cool.
Shut up. Mexican food's great.
Would you like to hear an AI-created country song about drinking?
Yes, but real quick, I heard earlier today, and I wondered, like, the legal the legalness of it, because YouTube played me some ad, and it was some ad marketed to men, some kind of man thing. I don't even remember, some kind of hunting outdoor thing. And they very obviously used a Joe Rogan AI.
Oh yeah. I've gotten that one.
Which
those
is
are
like
TikTok that's getting away with it.
Like that seems like Joe Rogan should be able to be like, no.
Oh, I'm sure he could, but
I
he'd have to do it a bunch because it's like just
I know.
freewheeling on TikTok.
Now, he actually,
yeah.
I think he mentioned that in one of his. Like, I saw some clip of him. His daughter like brought him a thing. He's like, "Dad, did you do this ad read?" And he's like, "No, that's AI."
One of the ones, this bodybuilder, he's one of like the celebrity bodybuilders. Like, look, I can eat donuts and stay in shape like this. He did it kind of before AI, where Joe Rogan would just act like he was like asking a question, or not act like. He'd take a clip of Joe Rogan asking a question on his podcast, and then he'd suddenly like put a clip of himself answering the question as if he were on the podcast, and use that for advertisements, But I don't know. It's all shady out there. But check this out.
Shaming everything. I guess we gotta unshame drunk driving, right?
If AI can sing a song about it, I guess so. So look at this. Rape class is introduced to explain to migrants Western women are not rape targets.
It's just like the ultimate feminist bullshit. It's like the culmination of all the times they've shouted like, teach men not to rape, don't teach women to defend themselves.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, you want to go talk, like sit down a bunch of rapists? And this could be a great Shane Gillis skit. Like, okay, wait, you're saying don't forcibly rip off her pants. What if I'd previously roofied her? Is that okay? Because she's like basically sleeping then.
Unconscious women don't know anything.
They're just like scribbling down. Okay, don't forcibly put penis in what? Anything. Okay. Anything.
The thing is, like, the
Raw. That's not a meme or a joke. That's a real class. That's
the Rotherham thing, though, like, because that's one of those things where it's like, because I heard like Carl Benjamin and conservative English commentators talking about the Rotherham rape gangs.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of those things where like just go to Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is pretty left leaning, right? And like you just need to go to the Wikipedia page, and even reading between the lines, you can see like, holy shit, that situation is such a bigger scandal than the media pretended like it was.
Yeah, it's out of control.
But it's insane. Yeah, like just the level but that's exactly what this thing is talking about, though. It's because like those people had a culture, a literal rape culture, like literally rape culture, where their culture believed that it was okay for them to rape women, and the wokies in British government protected them. It's completely bizarre.
Did you ever watch the Book of Mormon musical?
Oh yeah,
I saw a bootleg of it.
I saw a bootleg too.
That's what it makes me think of, him writing.
I think Chris and I saw the same bootleg.
Yeah,
him writing the Book of Arnold, and just about how. So when Joseph Smith he AIDS frog and put it on Brigham Young fuckface, then it was just
rape the frog instead.
Rape the frog instead. That's such a brilliant way to put it too. Like, because it's like still just disgusting and terrible, but it's obviously preferable to what they were doing.
Yeah. Look at this. Scott Adams is pointing this out. Can we talk about this yet? Carville is right. Women have destroyed the Democratic Party. Is showing what's holding back our support of nuclear power. and it's largely women that oppose it.
Well, what do you know?
I don't know how that happens exactly. Would you like to serve the mission doing this?
No.
You're
Jesus.
gay. Like, somebody called that Archuleta guy. We just found his match.
Yeah, it feels like I turned on. You asked for the Book of Mormon musical.
I know. Let's just
Like, I mean, like, because
send us to David Archuleta. He'll help you deconstruct your dick.
Like, seriously, what are the chances that this guy is not gay? Like, really.
It's gotta
Like,
be 0.
8% chance that this guy is a heterosexual.
Yeah.
0 chance.
That's sad.
You know who's got to watch out for? I'll show you who's got to, like, ask these women here. Here's a picture of Hamas Chad, and Trump Chad. And they asked the women,
oh,
who is
God.
more likely to support LGBTQ rights? Hamas Chad or Trump Chad?
No way.
What do you think their answers are?
I mean, we know. Is there volume? There's no sound.
You're not hearing it?
No.
You hear that? Do you hear
No,
that?
it's total silence.
You have to reset it.
Hamas. Why is the Palestinian life worth less? I don't know. Ask Hamas. Because they actually like have an answer to this. Like, they have a whole like concept called martyrdom that has to do with dead Palestinians, and they want to talk about it, and anybody can find out if they want to.
Between these two choices, who would you say is more likely to be supportive of the LGBTQ community?
Oh, this dude.
Okay, why would you say that?
Because he's a brown person and he's not for Trump.
Do you think the fact that he's part of Hamas would stop him from supporting that community?
Not at all.
Probably
no way you're that retarded.
Number one.
Palestinians.
Why would you say that?
Because Trump supporters are typically anti-LGBT.
Do you think so? Somebody that's a member of Hamas, would they support the LGBTQ community?
I'm not sure.
I'd say no.
Number one. Okay, what makes you say that?
They just look kinder.
Kinda. Do you think that somebody that's, say, a member of Hamas would be supportive of the gay community? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. Maybe him.
Number one.
He looks a little friendlier.
Between these two choices,
like, I mean, how much of that was nut picking, or how many of them?
I don't know, man. I'm like, I feel, the first one, I was like, this has got to be fake, but I don't know. It's because there's no way you're that stupid, right? Like,
so many of them are just showing up there to, because it's the cool thing to do right now, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. I wonder how many of them, if like we could go like run that experiment ourselves and ask it and see like what percentage.
I mean, this is the thing. When you say nobody is that stupid, the thing is they are, or at least they're that indoctrinated.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously, like, I mean, it's been almost 10 years, but I had a roommate who was finishing up her PhD in history. She was the first person who I heard say the words, "I am an intersectional feminist." Like, it was the first time I heard somebody say, like, not somebody talking about it abstractly, but somebody say, "I am an intersectional feminist." And her boyfriend bragged about how she was like a superstar in this feminist academic world, that she'd been invited to conferences to present her information. Like, big deal, serious feminist PhD scholar, all this stuff. And I'll never forget that, like, because that was back when I smoked, and we were smoking on the front porch doing porch time. And we were talking about American social issues. And I will not forget that she said, and I'm not misquoting her, I'm not taking it out of context, she doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down on this. Even her boyfriend was like, "Come, honey." And this is what she said. She said, "African Americans are worse off now than in any time in American history." and I was like, because this was before I realized what exactly intersectional feminism was about. Like, I still believe that there was like a scholarly, critical core.
You thought scholarly meant something?
Yeah, no, like I thought, yeah, like I thought, like no, like you must be the kook, like you must have missed that day.
There's
in
you
history
just
of
give
America class.
Yeah,
right?
well, you just
Like,
give an institution enough benefit of the doubt that you're
Yeah.
like, there's no way that the teachings are this stupid. You must be misinterpreting the teachings.
And like I tried to give her exact examples, like wait, so like you're really saying that like an African American born today is worse off than in 1960 or 1930 or 1900? And she said yes, African Americans are worse off in America today than in any time in American history. And I just like, and that really was like that was one of like talking about the shelf items. Like that was one of my leftist shelf items where it's like, okay, like, because this is the first time, you know, because like I thought like, oh, you know, especially like when I moved in, I'm like, oh, this will be a great opportunity for me because like I'm confused about feminism. I'm confused about so many things. And here is somebody who's in, you know, right at the forefront, like she's finishing her PhD right now. Perhaps she can clear me up on some of my confusions about feminism. Like, and that's what she told me is that, and I'm just like, okay, well, fuck, yeah.
Oh,
and that
it's
really
retarded.
was like, that sent me down the whole thing. I'm like, oh, I realize now, like, because like at first I thought like feminism is scholarship. It's just there's a lot of feminists who are dumb. And she was the moment that I realized, like, oh no, they are learning this. Like, that wasn't a whoopsie. She didn't come to that conclusion by accident. That is, she learned in school.
Yeah, her teacher would have nodded along.
Exactly.
This is my favorite tweet of the week. Therapy is evil because it is an attempt to recreate the Catholic confession, but instead of talking to a priest, you talk to a white woman who voted for Joe Biden. All right, I think I got something that will annoy you guys right to death. And like, you ready to be?
Do I need
might
one?
have known this one. This might have come up before.
I've been saying for years she's the worst, and let me explain why.
I was born in Rome. I moved to the States when I was 8. I do not have an accent, which I know shocks a lot of people, except when I say Italian words.
Why? Why?
So give me an example of
Spaghetti.
Oh, you say spaghetti.
Oh, shut the fuck
I
up.
never heard anybody call it that. I thought it was spaghetti. Back me up on this, right?
The reason people do that shit is for attention, because people go, why are you saying it that way? If you really were, oh, I'm respectful of the Italian culture, then why don't you pronounce these words that we've incorporated into English with an Italian accent? Well, I'm going to go on a trip and I'm going to try to see a volcano, but I hope I don't fall into any lava, because that would be a fiasco and possibly my finale. You see?
Yeah, I didn't know she was going around saying that she had to pronounce all Italian words that way.
Wait, who was that? Was that when?
That's De Laurentiis. No, she was that cook forever.
Yeah, Gianna De Laurentiis.
Yeah,
she's another one of those, like,
spaghetti.
Isn't she another Nepo baby? Like,
oh yeah,
she's like her dad was like a producer at the network.
Did you hear Ethan Hawke's daughter address the Nepo baby thing?
No.
She actually had surprisingly like the best take on it. She
What
was
was
like,
that?
"It was no, I am. I I understand that like I wouldn't be here without my dad's thing, but like, does that mean I shouldn't do it? Like, I'm not taking
That is
the job
the
from
good take. Yes.
that is a good take. No, it was awesome, and it's hilarious because I remember my dad showed me this. Like, it was after I showed him Fargo season 2. He's like, I like it, but fuck, I can't stand Colin Hanks. I was like, why is that? And he showed me this interview where somebody asked him, do you think your dad's success has anything to do with your success? And he was like appalled. He's like, no, I would have made it on
no
my
way.
own.
There's
Shut
no
your
way
fucking
Colin
mouth,
Hanks would
dude.
be. I think Colin Hanks is fine because there's a lot of jobs out there
he's not a
for
bad
actors
actor.
to do that are just plain old. Like, you probably could have swapped it out for 50 different actors, sure, but he didn't do any bad job in that stuff. But there's no way that guy would have been chosen for those jobs and not been Tom Hanks' son. No way. Like, come on.
I don't know, that pronunciation thing is a little weird. Like, I'm trying to think about that because, like, you know, think about like Sopranos, you know, because gabagool, right? And like gabagool is like the Americanization.
Even that, they have like a New Jersey
of-
way of pronouncing it. Like,
Well, yeah, no, like because gabagool is like the Americanization of working class Neapolitan accent, is my understanding. But like, because that thing's like, because on the other hand, with like some Portuguese words.
Oh, it's weird.
Like, there's something that, like, when you pronounce them in full English, like they just sound gross and wrong.
Like, just give me the word burrito. Like, I hate saying the word burrito without saying it like the correct way.
Yeah, like you don't say burrito. Like, yeah, can I have a California burrito? Just a burrito is fine.
But I'm really tempted to say the correct way to say it, just because I know that this word is.
There are certain things like if I go to a Brazilian restaurant, I feel like a moron. I feel like a moron either way, because if I say, "Hey, can I get a guaraná with that?" I feel like pretentious dick. But if I say, "Hey, can I get guaraná?" I feel like a retard.
But there is a level if you're speaking to a native speaker, they might not understand you, that always blew my mind with like accents over syllables, like guarana, like what? Okay.
Yeah.
Guarana. Ah!
Yeah.
It's such not an English thing, but it is a real thing in those other countries. They really will not understand you if you put the emphasis wrong.
But like, there's some things like, because I don't know, because Italian is not hard for Americans to pronounce. There's not sounds in Italian that aren't in American English. There's the rhythm to it is different, but like with Portuguese, like feijão, like I just rather you not say the word. I just rather you just don't even eat beans. Just don't. But like also but Americans they're never going to say feijão, and I don't blame them because they don't know what to do. But
that's when people who aren't people who aren't native speakers of Portuguese, they whenever they sing that sound, it's terrible.
The
yeah. There was the hymn Secret Prayer. The Secreta oração.
Oração. It's not hard.
Here, Christopher just sent this in.
My family is Italian, but we're not like a real Italian. We're like Olive Garden Italian. My parents eat at the Olive Garden, and it's that my dad shows off by pronouncing menu items correctly. He'll be like, "I'll have the pasta fagioli," and I'm like, "We're sitting in a strip mall in Hyannis, Massachusetts. We love pasta fagioli like everybody else." My family is Italian, but we're not
That's how they really
but-
pronounce it. Like the Wisconsiners, you think they actually call it fagioli?
Fagioli.
Oh, for sure. Fagioli.
Yeah, they probably do, don't they? Those Wisconsiners.
Oh, can I have some of that their pasta fagioli, please? Huh?
Yeah. Feminists, men are trash and women are equal to them. Yes. Have you guys heard of? I saw this popping up on TikTok this week as a Utah word. Have you heard of derfing?
Oh yeah.
Derf?
Wait, I have. I don't remember what it is though.
Derfing. I guess it got real popular on TikTok right now. Utah derfing.
All right, we've got a few more items to cover. This is item number 1 on the menu. This is just the introduction to the menu. Durfing, D-U-R-F-I-N-G, which is a combination of 2 words, denim surfing. And from my research, I have learned that denim is not the cloth of choice. Silk basketball shorts for the men, the ladies. It's much more effective. AKA dry humping, but they had to give it a cute little nickname to trick God, apparently.
Derfing, that's the new word, man.
I want to speak Khmer words.
The stupidest Mormon word was always Nickmo.
Yeah, that's one that's actually made the rounds on TikTok this week because people are learning the Mormon words all over TikTok. Yeah,
I don't know Nickmo. What's Nickmo?
Non-committal makeout. It's a.
Oh, and Nickmo.
You never that one I actually heard back in high
that's
school.
right. I have
20
heard that one.
years
That
ago.
one's been around for a long time. It always annoyed the shit out of me because
it's Holy Slut.
Yeah, I know it was a one night stand, but all we're doing is like tonguing each other's mouths.
Kamai or Kami? Claire.
It's friends with benefits, but just kissing friends with benefits. And from my experience in history, that worked just about as good as non-committal
As fuck
effing.
buddies?
Yeah, they got just as much attachment came from that as anything.
I'm sure it did.
Kamei?
Tell me what you guys think of this song.
Oh God.
Oh, is this the one?
I wonder how much I can share without getting. They'll probably get copywritten, right?
I don't know.
I gotta pause it like every 10 seconds just so I don't get.
When you pick a sprig of balsam pine
Balsam pie?
on your hike along the mountain view, you can wrap the scent in corduroy and bring the mountain home with you.
God.
John DeLynn felt stupid gay love song about his woman who's insane.
This is the love song that DeLynn sent Rosebud.
And when you sit beside the ocean's edge,
This feels like so Mormon-y to me. Like
I
everything
know.
about DeLynn's always felt like uber Mormon-y to me. But like I would think only a Mormon would find this music good.
and dream of what might come to be.
Wildberry pie.
Your fingers.
I mean, it sounds
Dude,
like sex.
James Taylor was too spicy for Mormons, so God made the world up. I think that's what this is. I think that it's
Taste of salt from the castles made beside the sea.
This guy's been
I'm
going since the
lonely
80s.
at work.
He's have a whole career. New York Times has written about this guy.
I just want to post this song on Mormon Stories front page and be like, "What do you guys think of this song? This is a pretty good song."
I want to
This is
send.
a
I
pretty
just.
good
I just want to create an OkCupid profile and just send that song to him and see.
We
And
should,
see.
put that picture up there. Play the song.
Jesus Christ!
When I think of you, I think of
Wildberry pie,
denim and huckleberries,
and my mischievous.
When I'm derfing you, I'm thinking of wildberry pie. I want to derf you. I want to derf
singing it in
your
the
way.
Mr. Mackey voice.
Derfing isn't gay. I super wanna derf your wildberry pie.
1994, he released an album that debuted at 165 on the Billboard 200.
He got there, man.
Whoa.
Fingers remind me and cover my.
Well, he made number 3 on the folk radio chart, which I didn't know the folk radio was a chart.
Damn.
Wow. Jesus. What else does John DeLynn listen to?
I would have, if you asked me what John DeLynn listens to, I would have named the lamest things I could possibly think of, and it would not have even like scratched the surface. Like I wouldn't have. I didn't know this guy existed.
What's the lamest song you would have ever sent to a chick? Confession time.
Fuck, I don't know.
I'm trying to be lame.
Yeah, I haven't sent any lame songs. I've sent cool songs. Me.
Yeah, I sent
like
the good ones.
Wildberry Pie by.
Yeah, I only send songs I like to, and I've never sent a woman a love song like "This is how I think it." That feels dumb. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, you haven't had a torrid, dry affair, a
Yeah, I
derfing
guess.
affair, a derfing affair.
I don't know.
Can't-
See-
an unrequited derfing affair.
Something that I've learned is that like sending, if I were ever in the dating game again, sending women music that I like would be a great shit test, right?
Yeah.
To see if she's somebody I would be with. Because if I send her all the music I like and she agrees with me, then I know that I would definitely not want to be with her. Like all of the women
right now.
all the women who like the music that I like, are not marriage material. Like, I would not want to. When I met Morgan, she was into Christian rock.
I believe
I'm sending Wildberry Pie to a gal right now. Live on air. You have to give your honest
I
opinion.
am Forrest.
Dude, like if you get
Forrest
married,
told
that
me
means
I'm
you
a
have to
hopeless
play it at
romantic,
the wedding.
like- Forrest told me I'm a hopeless romantic. I am a hopeless romantic. I'm just not gay. That's it.
All right, here goes. Send. I just sent Wildberry Pie to a chick.
No, you better not clarify. Just wait till she responds. What the fuck?
There it is. Yay! Oh man, I don't
like. I wrote a story about a made-up guy called His Krana. His Krana like to send terrible music.
Riz Krana. Oh man, that would have been the best name for ourselves tonight. We should have.
We should have.
This is something to remember. This is a message for Rosebud when guys are text messaging you. This is something to learn about guys when they're messaging you.
Having a little brother is so weird. You won't hear from them for 6 weeks, and then randomly they'll hit you with a 2 a.m. Hey, what are your thoughts on Ice Spice? And then they'll text you 3 weeks later, no response or follow up about the Ice Spice question, and just tell you that the UV is 9, and they're curious what level.
For all the women out there who think they have platonic male friends, this man texts you that has no interest in anything more than just like friendship. Not good morning texts, not do you want to hang out or go get dinner texts. This. Because this is also how guys text each other. Guys don't usually text each other and just like, hey man, what's up? And conversations never end like, all right, I'll talk to you later. Just one of you stops responding. So if you're a girl and your guy friend texts you like this, he's just your friend. But if you're just casually texting all throughout the day, back and forth, how are you doing? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. There's a snake in the grass waiting for its chance to strike.
Do you even want?
Did you, I mean, I guess I don't know if I want to read that whole entire text message thread, but now she knows. She's learned because she was a vulnerable woman leaving the Mormonism and then found out the hard way that men take advantage of the vulnerable women. And oh man, now I feel bad I sent that text. Oh, the girl's going to stop texting me now because of John DeLynn.
I'm actually afraid. I almost sent it to Morgan as a joke right now. I'm afraid that what would happen is she'd be like, "This is pretty good," and then I'd feel bad because we just ran the
You'd have to learn to play it.
Oh no, I'm not. I mean, that would take like 10 minutes.
We should learn to play it and do a cultural hall joke song out of it. Cultural hall, durfing in my what's the durfing in my denim pants. Listening to cultural hall, rip on thoughtless taint. Yee.
Taint rhymes with saint.
Yeah.
You get it?
Oh my gosh! I just barely connected that.
Swig
What
or-
kind of brain comes up with that?
Is that the Mormon date? Like you go get popped up on extra caffeinated swig and then you go dirt?
Yeah, durfing. Ride the durf, man.
Durfing had to have been created like as just a concept on a scout camp or something. That seems like a word you'd make up on scout camp. It's durfing his girlfriend, bro.
Yeah.
There's like some 58-year-old like autistic guy who's like, God damn it, I invented that word.
I want to
Nobody
see
gives
Fat
me
Jedi
credit.
in action. I want to see him in. I hope he fights before the end of this series. So bad.
This guy said
Troy!
Oh yeah, we do have to see that. Jedi.
Yeah, see, that's why that
somebody said order
No, but, like-
66 cheeseburgers. Order 66 cheeseburgers.
Diabetes. But Troy, like you gave it away when you said your first wife. Like we were like, I was gonna say like, well, how'd that story end? Like, oh, that's right. I know now. Like that's never a good idea.
Wouldn't that be sweet if you could get like crazy chicks to disappear from you if you send him wild berry pie. Although I did not want that to happen with this chick I just messaged. I just might have screwed it up. Thanks, John DeLynn.
Man. Like, what if John DeLynn just stopped the whole like faith transition thing and just became a dating coach?
Who fucking
Isn't that what Sam's basically done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who casted that dude as a Jedi? That's one of the funniest things ever. I want him to have a main role. I want this intersectional thing to go full circle until like we need a fat James Bond. We haven't had a single fat James Bond.
Original Star Wars had Perkins, right? Or Porkins, and he was a fat guy.
Wasn't
like
a Jedi.
No, but he was a fat guy. But like he was just a space pilot, which makes a little bit more sense.
He did a thing that fat guys could feasibly do, and you know it's a
But, like,
rebellion.
remember, that's
you
what I'm
can't
saying,
be
like-
super picky about your soldiers.
Yeah, no, there's something definitely weird like that. Yeah,
His name was
and his
Porkins,
name
so
was Porkins.
His parents just fucking doomed him from the beginning.
Do you think that's his actual name?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
okay,
in Star
it is.
Wars, that would be. Is it really his name?
William, Hutkins. Oh, because like if you look up Porkins, there's like it's searchable. But yeah, he's a fat guy. Jack Tono Porkins. Yeah, his name is Porkins. That's exactly how much imagination George Lucas had. It was like, I got a fat actor. I need to give him a name. Call him Taco Porkins.
Oh God.
All right, here's a little bit of comedy.
Is it?
So I cook, I clean, I do the laundry, I take care of our daughter all day. So I feel like I finally get it for the first time in my life, all the work that women have been doing for thousands of years. Yeah. And I gotta say, it is not that hard,
That was such a well-constructed joke.
Yep.
He knew all the women were just gonna start applauding him.
I get it. I get it now. I get it.
No, like, 'cause, like, I get it. Like housework is hard. It's not harder than delivering appliances. It's just not.
That's why
Like,
that Bill Burr
housework
joke
is
so
hard. It's not as hard as farming. It just is not. You know,
That's
it's
why
not as
that
hard as
Bill
coal
Burr-
mining.
Yeah, no, the Bill Burr joke was so funny because he said it just like that. He's like talking about how Oprah said it's the most difficult job in the world. She's a mother. And he's like, "Oh, really? The most difficult job in the whole world, huh?" And then I remember I was listening to that, and my sister-in-law got all butthurt. She's like, "Well, let's see him raise 3 kids." I'm like, he didn't say it was easy, okay? Just notice how he said it. He compared it to coal mining, right? Like,
Like 20 years ago, there was that Family Guy joke where like Meg is chewing out Lois because Lois is complaining about the housework, and Meg's like, "It's a finite area. Like, you can do the whole thing in an hour." You know, like, and because that's the thing, she's making a point. Like, because like you know, like my mom like used to she had 2 complaints: the house is messy and the house is small. Like, well, like
that's
at least it's small, right?
That's
So
the
there's
very
less to
first
clean?
episode. The very first episode of the Jetsons is Jane Jetson like seeing everybody off as they go to school and work, and then standing on a conveyor belt and pressing 3 separate buttons as she goes past them, and sitting in a chair and going, "Ah," and just feeling so underappreciated. So she has to get a robot maid.
Yeah, this thing is like, you know, and I know because that's things for me where it's like, I mean, I don't know, maybe in the long term it would start to get annoying. Like honestly, like, you want me to hang around with kids and make them lunch? It's fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, being with kids all the time is a pain in the ass. I think the most difficult part of being like the stay-at-home parent is not interacting with other adults.
Yeah, no, I guess
it
I
is
can see
something
that.
like you take for granted when you like actually go to work and do it. It's not something that you think you need because it's something you get anyway, but you do
Yeah,
kind of
no,
need
that's
it.
true.
And so, no, there's a lot of ways that it's a pain in the ass, but I don't like. We kind of do that thing where we baby women, like we were talking about how RFM babies Maven, you know, and
Oh my god, yeah.
where we have to exaggerate things. It's not
You've
good
heard
enough
of
because Morgan, stay at home mom, she's really good at it. She's keeps the house pretty clean and she keeps the kids fed and she's a really attentive mother. And I always want her to feel appreciated in that. But like, if you overcorrect and then start telling her like, oh my God, I'm so glad I don't have to do your job because your job is so much harder than mine. You have it so much worse than I do. Then it turns you into a monster if everybody talks to you like that.
Yeah.
They heard the concepts of neoteny. Neoteny.
No.
Neoteny?
Neoteny is the concept of carrying retention of juvenile traits into adulthood for
yeah,
which pups and dogs and that sort of thing do. And Disney even kind of uses it to get you to sympathize with their characters and animals with the big eyes and all that.
That's
and
the
neoteny
dog
in women is one of the reasons that women get babied.
No, that's so neoteny. This is now I know where now I remember where I heard this word. The whole world of aesthetic dog breeding is 100% women making dogs look like perpetual puppies. Like you look at the dogs that have been bred by women,
pugs,
like Chihuahuas, pugs, Shih Tzus, like the big heads,
pugs
big
eyeballs
eyes.
will pop out of their fucking heads. They're so big.
Oh yeah, no, like no, geez, it's been a while, but like I first it was I think it was New York Times, New Yorkers. Somebody in America did this like long form journalism thing about dog breeding in America. And then the same year, BBC did like a 3-part documentary about dog breeding in the UK. And like after that, I'm like, oh fuck. Like there are some breeds that like I think should be illegal at this point. Like the BBC documentary actually made the point that
because they're like a kill me type breed, like
yeah, no. So this BBC documentary, there's a few points that I remember from it that like just really, really stood out. Well, actually, to the American thing first. Like a modern purebred American bulldog cannot give natural birth. They can only procreate through cesarean, right? That's a problem. But like that thing where you're talking about with the eyes sticking out, that like, and that's funny because like women 100% bred that into dogs because they like those big bulging eyes. What that means is the dog's skull is too small for its brain.
Yeah.
And that those dogs probably live their entire lives feeling neurological pain. And because dogs don't really express pain, we just don't even know it. But like one of the other things they mentioned in that documentary, 2 more things actually, that like just shocked me was that like they talked about how like they took the last year of like all of the winning dog show breeds from the last dog show, and under like German agricultural law, if those dogs were livestock, they would be illegal to breed them. Like if you bred cows, if you inbred cows to the point that they have bred show dogs, under German law, it's illegal to breed them because they are not genetically viable anymore. There's not enough like genetic variety for it to be a healthy population. And that was the other thing in that documentary they talked about. Is like that year, the best in show for like the big British dog show was some little toy puffy dog. I don't remember what it is. And that they mentioned that like the dog had to be sat and displayed on a cooling pad that they use for laptops because like the short nose, that's the other thing, the short snouts, the dogs are unable to regulate their temperature. And in the show environment with the lights, the dog could die if it wasn't sat on an air conditioned, like a cooled pad to regulate its body temperature. Like fucking nuts.
That's
it's
fucking
nuts
sad.
How bad, like, you know, and that's things like, and that's the thing they talked about is that like, so for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, dogs were bred for health, intelligence, and loyalty. And that's where you get like sheep dogs, right? Like German shepherds, right? Like the healthy, bouncy, useful dogs were dogs that were bred for work and not for looks, right? And it was in the 19th century, and it was the Victorian women that started the whole thing about like the purse dog, the dog that was an accessory, and that was like, and you know, you can't carry around a Labrador, but you can carry around a cute little poodle, right? And that's where that whole fucking thing came from. And like, yeah, and they have bred dogs into a state that they are like unviable. Like the article I read about the American thing was like, the title of the article was, "Can the American Bulldog be saved?" Because like they think at this point, they might not even be able to breed bulldogs back into a healthy breed again, like they were 100 years ago. They may have bred bulldogs to the point that the bulldog is extinct.
So when the bulldog goes to give birth, they just have to do cesarean every time?
Yeah, it has to be a cesarean every time. For purebred bulldogs to give birth, they have to give birth by cesarean. They can't give natural birth.
That makes me. That's kind of funny because did you watch any of that? I think it was Joe Rogan on with Tucker Carlson. Tucker started talking about some of his more crazy beliefs, and he started shitting on evolution. And that was the example he used to shit on evolution, is like, if we evolved to be better, then why are dogs so much shittier than wolves?
Well, yeah. Huh.
Well, no, it's just funny because like that's the opposite. Like it's proving the opposite of his point, because he's like, well, we unnaturally selected, you dipshit. Like you're actually kind of proving that evolution is a real phenomenon. Because
exactly. Well, there's another thing. STU talked about this, but like it was 10, 15 years ago. But Russian scientists, like they ran this experiment where they took wild red foxes, which are a wild red fox from the wild of Siberia of Russia, and they bred wild red foxes. And the experiment was like, all they did was they selected for tameness. That was the only thing they did, is they selected for tameness and bred the tamest examples from each litter. And it only took them, I think it was either 5 or 6 generations before they had bred something that looked like a puppy. Like the red foxes originally, like they had perky ears and like short fur with long noses. And breeding for tameness alone, they got really poofy dogs with big heads, floppy ears, and short noses. And the coloration changed too, you know? And it's just crazy to like just how interconnected all these genes are, because all they bred was tameness. And yeah, it only took them 6 generations to basically produce a little puppy instead of a fox.
I found a post about it as a Washington Post, and it's behind a paywall, but of the pictures of the puppy-looking foxes. Well, I mean, come on. There's a puppy-looking fox on the right there.
Oh, Jesus. It's adorable. I want one.
Back to the neoteny thing. It's also, women are more neotenous than men. It's one of the reasons they get cared for more and that sort of stuff, have bigger eyes and that sort of deal. There's actually even people.
And Ella Purnell got a job on acting, like, you know, Ella Purnell, the girl from the Fallout. And then people immediately found that whatever that cartoon is, it's like, oh yeah, she does just look like that. She does have big eyes.
Got big eyes, yeah.
And people, I see arguments about this, and I think it's just true that certain races are more neotenous than other races. Like Japanese are more neotenous than other races, and that sort of deal. And
they'll have like more childlike features.
Yeah.
Yeah, little nose, big eyes.
For supporting PBS Digital Studio. Hey guys, Joe here. So I am a dad now, and my wife got me these socks. They're covered in my
why is that
son's face. Pretty much the cutest socks ever. And my wife got me these socks.
Don't be funny.
Covered in my son's face. Pretty much the cutest socks ever. So now that I'm a dad, I realize I'm basically only going to watch animated movies for the next decade. As I started thinking back,
why is it pausing?
About all the great Disney movies through the years, I noticed something weird has been happening.
Come on.
To the princesses. In the earliest Disney films, the princesses more or less look like real human women. But through the years, something strange happens. Heads get bigger compared to their bodies. And their eyes get bigger compared to their heads. By the time we get to Elsa, it's clear this 22-year-old frozen princess doesn't look like an adult female. She has the body ratios of an 8-year-old. Moana is supposedly 16 years old, but she has the body ratios of a 4-year-old. Disney princesses have been looking more and more like children. And this case of the Benjamin Buttons isn't just happening to princesses.
Groomers!
In fact, this is true all over Toontown. The designs of almost all cartoon characters have changed over time, and almost always in the same way. As they get older, they age in reverse. As we develop, we get a literal head start. Our arms, legs, and bodies catch up as we get older. That's why a newborn's eyes are already 75% of their adult diameter, and our brains hit 55% of their adult volume by 3 months of age. Small bodies, big heads, big eyes. Biologist Conrad Lorenz speculated that these babyish features trigger an instinct in adult mammals to give love and attention. When I show you this photo of a kitten, something happens in your brain that makes you want to cuddle and feed it, unless you're some kind of unfeeling monster. In other words, cuteness is nature's secret weapon to persuade adults into caring for babies. Disney is just using the same biological trick to encourage audiences to root for their characters. That's why cartoon protagonists tend to have juvenile characteristics, and the villains, not so much. But this doesn't just happen in Fantasyland. Which would you rather cuddle, this Cavalier King Charles Spaniel or this wolf? This floppy-eared ball of Snuggles has been selectively bred to be cute. It retains juvenile features into adulthood, or what biologists call neoteny. We see neoteny in many domesticated animals. Although selecting for cuteness can explain the spaniel, animals like pigs show neoteny too. Why would ancient humans care about the cuddleability of something they were raising for bacon? Well, maybe cuteness is just a side effect. The most important trait in becoming a domesticated animal is tameness. Whether it's a companion, a worker, or a food source, you can't have a productive relationship with fearful or aggressive animals. That fight or flight response is something that most animals only acquire as they get older. Baby animals are pretty chill with you.
We've got a response. I've listened to it 3 times, and my only reaction has been, what the fuck?
That was when you proposed.
Oh, she's the one, man.
That's the
So an
death
animal
she
that somehow
passed.
never grows up in that sense might make the best candidate for domestication. Beginning in the 1950s, Soviet scientist Dmitry Belayev began a breeding experiment to study this idea using wild silver
Here's the
foxes. The foxes were tested for their reaction to human contact, and only the foxes that were friendly toward experimenters were allowed to breed. After just 20 generations, his foxes had not only changed in behavior, but also in appearance. Floppy ears, smaller jaws, and shorter tails that now wagged whenever humans were around. Belayev noted changes in hormones and brain chemistry that he suspected were capable of reshaping the fox's external features. What does this tell us? Well, if you select for one childish trait, a bunch of others tend to come along with it. Evolutionary biologist Stephen Jay Gould noticed that the same was true of the world's most famous cartoon character.
Troy and
Jonathan
talked about Stephen Jay Gould this week. Non-overlapping magisteria.
Mickey Mouse. OG Mickey was kind of a jerk. But as his personality got softer and sweeter, so did his appearance. By the 1950s, Mickey had not only become the childlike mouse we know today, he'd become a nice guy.
When was the last time you saw like a Mickey Mouse cartoon?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that.
Fucking yesterday. You don't have a 3-year-old, okay?
You saw an entire Mickey Mouse cartoon? Like
No,
I mean like one that would
Just
be
like
like
a stupid little kid show one. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
But beyond pets or cartoons, you can also see neoteny in yourself. Most biologists agree that humans are, in many ways, big babies. Compared to other adult primates, we grow less body hair, we have shorter limbs, and flatter faces. And if you compare how much a chimp's skull morphs as it matures, you can see that our skull shape changes much less. Our neoteny offered...
And all of the little face filler things and stuff you're doing to your faces, or you're trying to do this some more.
us lots of evolutionary advantages. Less body hair meant we could run farther in that African heat, and our faces were more visible to each other as social interaction became more important. Also, suppressing our own fight or flight response meant we could cooperate and organize in larger numbers. And most importantly, these big brains need a lot of room and time to develop, which is why we rely on our parents for much longer than most mammals. It might not be a coincidence that the more complex our society gets, the more time humans need to become independent. Childhood is a time for experimentation and learning. Most animals get locked into pretty rigid programs by the time they're adults. But by extending our childhood into adulthood, we can learn and change as long as we live. Maybe that's why so many of us still love cartoons, because we may get old, but we never grow up. That's what makes us human. Stay curious.
All right.
There we go.
Neoteny.
Where is Charlie Dog? You got
More
Charlie Dog?
evolution. No, Charlie Dog's not here. Charlie Dog's recovering from his nuts off. From his,
Oh, that's
his
right.
Kathleen Kennedying. Do you want to see a picture of... You want to see somebody who got long-housed this week? If anybody's been long-housed. I actually didn't want to do it too, but whatever. Someday I might have to answer to him in heaven for that. Like, you let him take my nuts, man? There's a guy who even wanted to breed with him. Like, he saw him, he's like, he's such a pretty dog. I want to breed it with my dog in October. And I said, okay. But here's me airing my grievances.
These guys are in here talking
This
about
this
Marty and Forrest are talking about kids shows that their kids watch, and it reminds me one of the biggest mistakes is letting my kid watch Peppa Pig because it's British. So now August says a couple words with like a British accent now. I was like, "Hey, go grab your diaper," and he'll be like, "Dad, I can't."
Dude, that's not British. He's just gay.
Oh, I wanted to have a gay kid just to prove how progressive I am.
Daddy.
Lucas is actually Lucas. The other day, I asked him. I was like, "Hey, Lucas, you think you're gonna be a dad one day?" He's like, "Yeah, or a mom." And I was like, "Oh my god, yes! Oh my god!"
You didn't trans him right on the spot. You're supposed to go on Facebook, put a big rainbow flag up, and say, "I just found out my daughter is a daughter."
I
Oh,
apologize.
Charlie dog.
There's the mascot of the Longhouse right now, man. That's what society's doing to all of us right now. We're all in that. In the state.
That's the banner for the group.
There's the banner. There's the Longhouse banner. The new
the Longhouse flag.
That's the state of ex-Mormonism right now. Oh, it's a patriarchy. Oh, is it? Oh, what's with the cone around the head?
Yeah, you point out the cone around the head and be like, "That's actually evidence for a patriarchy." Don't you understand?
Don't you know that the patriarchy hurts you too? Why do I have a Kyle Dunnigan here?
Oh, that's right.
I think I accidentally. Yeah.
Kyle Dunnigan's great.
Oh, let's watch it.
So you think Joe Biden pooped his pants?
Yeah. I do think he did.
Are you sure?
Why is this not working? Okay, that's not working. Never mind. I do think he pooped his pants. Did you see like any of the clips this week of him looking extremely senile, shaking hands and standing, staring at stuff like a weirdo?
And I don't
No.
think that their meth that they gave him during the State of the Union, I don't think that'll get him through a Trump debate.
Yeah,
I want to see it so bad. They're gonna.
Even Jon Stewart was making fun of it like a week ago. He's like, why does everything he does has to look and be weird? Why is it weird? Yeah. I'll find it. Hold on.
Oh God. Forrest said, "I had an interesting moment today. My gay sister-in-law got my 1-year-old son a pride shirt for his birthday. Turns out the gays are coming for your kids."
Oh my goodness.
Jesus Christ. That's the most insane thing. I remember arguing that. I remember making fun of my parents in high school for their whole slippery slope thing. Like they just, I was like, "Mom, Dad, just let them get married. They that's all they want." And they're like, "Well, then they're gonna go they're gonna go for kids next. They're gonna want to do bestiality. What happens next? You're being ridiculous." Hell no.
Dude, that's funny.
So there's one like Biden not realizing that he'd already shaken the hand of somebody.
How old was Bob Dole when he ran in '96?
Like 90? No, he wasn't that old. These were the oldest people have ever been.
I just wonder because I mean the whole joke was he was so old, but I don't think he's as old as the guys we got now.
No, I think these are the oldest.
It's pretty funny because Trump was the oldest president that we ever had until the very next guy.
Yeah. But he would also be the oldest again if
he would have been. Yeah, Bob Dole was younger than Trump or Biden when he ran. And I just remember, when Bob Dole ran, all of the jokes, because I mean, Norm Macdonald made 10 million great jokes about how old Bob Dole was. And he was still younger than the guys we got now.
All right, so one of the things they said on this one is like, so he's watching something, like, watch his hand.
Oh, dude, he looks like, seriously, my grandpa is pretty far into dementia at this point, and that's just what he looks like when he just. Like that dude doesn't know where he is.
No, like this. I don't know. It's one of the things where it's like, it's sad.
Yeah, that's
because like on the one hand, it's like okay, so Democrats, you guys are so completely fucking shameless that like it would be one thing if they came out and said like, well, look, he's old, but we think he still has it together. But like, no, they don't. They say like, no, he's young and vibrant and he's as sharp as anybody. No, he isn't.
I saw that. So I saw a great RFK ad where he was
Taft Biden.
Yeah, that was funny. Ezra Taft Biden. No,
Here's another one where he
RFK
goes wandering off. Keep
He's
going,
talking
Chris.
about his the reason you should vote for him, and he did 25 pull-ups.
Just goes
wandering. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Like I do that.
Watch this lady come and sneakily drag him back in.
Is he talking to
Oh,
someone?
hey, Bob. Oh my dude, that's bad.
I was just snarving the portal over there.
Oh, what you gonna do? But I constantly see things on Twitter of people shaming LDS people for liking Trump because it's
Dude, I know. So looking at him now, like especially he's been rough the last couple weeks, like worse than he was already bad. He was bad when he was running, but he's looking fucking rough. I want to know what drug they gave him for that State of the Union.
No,
well, it's been years since that too.
Yeah, that's true. It's like that's one of the like that's one of the things like I hear that like before I saw any clips, I heard it. I'm like, oh come on, guys, really? But like when you watch that clip and then compare it to all the other clips you see of him, and you like, yeah, he was on something. They did something there. For sure.
Yeah, he was on some sort of uppers whenever he'd take those things. I mean, you hear him speaking all extra fast and that sort of stuff, which I don't know, maybe I'd take uppers too.
Talking into the sky and looking spaced out. Between 2019 and 2023, homelessness in Salt Lake City went up 96%.
What?
And it went up 26% in 2023 alone. Because that's things like I mentioned that, like, I said that, and I said that at work, and one of my coworkers was like, well, something happened there. And I know he was like hinting at COVID. And I'm like, yeah, but 26% in 2023 too? Like, that's not COVID. Like, because that's things like, it's like, oh, something happened. I was like, yeah, something happened there. We elected our current city government. That's what happened in 2020 that led to the spike in homelessness. Like,
it's always funny listening. It's always funny listening to people try to piece together things that should be obvious. Like with Actual Justice Warrior, watching all his shit on like crime rates rising, and like people we're not totally sure why crime's rising. We don't think it has anything to do with the fact that we don't punish crime anymore.
Yeah. And
there's not really any evidence to suggest that not punishing crime would lead to a spike in crime. You're retarded. I don't actually need data.
Oh no, police create crime. Everybody knows that.
Oh yeah, they're all Aladdins.
Do you remember that the Solomon Asch test that we talked about, which is the
conformity test?
The conformity test, and one of the tests that they did on those Solomon Asch tests is they'd have a bunch of people get on the elevator the wrong way and see if everybody got. Well, here's a real life Asch conformity test for you.
He's not a conformist.
Faces the wrong way.
They're like all trying to. Oh my god!
Can you believe that?
Oh my god! Like
Jesus,
this looks like a Monty Python skit.
They all just slowly turn around.
Do they not know that? They don't know he's out of his mind.
No, just
they're like trying to figure out what he's looking at.
It's like these are like the most like these people are so wealthy and powerful and put together, and they made all the right choices and they got to where they are, and this is how much self-determination they have, that they're like, oh fuck, the old man turned around, we better turn around.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's amazing.
and then there's a 100-year-old guy who fucking stormed Normandy. His brains are working. Can't we make that guy president? Like that guy has still got it together. He could put his fucking tie on.
Plus, he's seen some shit.
Jeez. Oh man.
All right. Do you want to hear? We're about getting there. Do you want to hear Sargon bitch about the right side of history, or do you want to see
What
a
did he say?
creepy dead girl talking about
Creepy dead girls? Me and my friend used to have a game called Creepy English Dead Girls, and we'd just walk up and say like, "We used to like to play. We used to play with Daddy."
That's
before the
exactly
fire."
it. Except this is got a Christian flair to it, I think.
Oh, jeez.
And today was going to be my birthday. But I was hit by an ice cream truck before I could have my party. I'm dead now, and I'm in heaven. You see, that's why my parents didn't pick up the cake at the bakery. Oh, I'm not mad at the ice cream truck driver. Even though he was drunk when he hit me. It didn't hurt much. It wasn't even as bad as the sting of a bumblebee. I'm really happy here. You know, I'm glad the driver was drunk. If he hadn't have been, I might never have got to heaven for years and years and years. I would have had to go to the high school first.
This isn't real.
And then to beauty college, and I would have had to get married and have babies and everything. Now I can just play and play and play. Everybody up here is happy.
Oh, it's Kurt Vonnegut.
The dead soldiers, the people who went to the electric chair, and everything. Nobody's mad. We're all too busy playing shuffleboard. So if you think of killing anybody, don't worry about it. Just go right ahead and do it. Whoever you do it to should kiss you for doing it. Oh, the soldiers just love the shrapnel and the tanks and the bayonets. And the dum-dums that let them play shuffleboard all the time and drink beer.
Is that a Kurt Vonnegut thing?
What is it? It said
I thought it was a
hashtag
weird
Kurt
Christian
Vonnegut.
thing. I don't know if that's.
What is that? That little girl did a great job of acting too.
Do you so you watched Breaking Bad, didn't you?
I did.
So I'm gonna send it in the Facebook chat. You've probably seen it before. It made the rounds a couple of years ago. There's this great there's this great sex ed film that features Jonathan Banks, who plays Mike, who's probably the coolest character in the entire series. I don't know. Have you seen that one?
Do I have it? I have it pulled up, don't I?
Wait, what?
No. You just have the Facebook chat pulled up.
What the heck? I thought I clicked on it. Dang it. Dang it. Dang it.
They click.
So what's this from?
So this is young Jonathan Banks, played Mike in Breaking Bad.
Oh.
I mean, I wouldn't recognize him.
I wouldn't know.
So what's so different about you?
I got my first period today.
The volume. Turn the volume.
So what?
So what? It's only the first time I've ever gotten it. That's all. I'm 15 years old.
So what's the big deal?
It means that blood is flowing out of my uterus.
What the hell is this?
Hello, I'm actor Troy McClure. You kids might remember me from such educational films as Lead Paint, Delicious but Deadly, and Here Comes the Metric System. I'm here to provide the facts about sex in a frank and straightforward manner. And now here's Fuzzy Bunny's Guide to You-Know-What.
I wonder what that guy actually said right there.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I want to know
who
too.
it was, but
This reminds me of though, like in the 90s, I think I went and saw one of those like twisted animation film fests, and one of the things was like it wasn't an animation. They called it a period piece, and it was literally just like a 1970s educational film about periods aimed at Down syndrome girls.
What the fuck?
And it was like, that's things like it. I mean, it's a testament that 30 years or whatever later, I still remember this, because like, just imagine,
oh hell,
like imagine like a 1970s public health film about periods, but aimed at Down syndrome girls, and that's what this was, and it was the craziest fucking thing.
Do Down syndrome girls have different periods?
Well, no, but like, because the main thing I remember is like, because I mean, obviously, like everything was simplified and repeated 15 times, and that's the thing is like, but it was an amazing. I wonder, like, in the world of YouTube, it's got to be out there now somewhere. Because at this point, you know, like some film nerd found this and then put it in a compilation and took it on tour as one of those twisted animation film festivals. But
you know, if we had just bitten a bullet like Iceland and cured Down syndrome, then we wouldn't have had to do that.
Oh, that's right. What is
that
this?
That was
Kurt Vonnegut thing.
Kurt Vonnegut, yeah, it was some play written by him. I always like bringing up Harrison Bergeron for Harrison Bergeron.
Happy birthday!
Did you ever watch? Did you watch Better Call Saul?
No, I've been meaning to watch the whole thing. I was waiting for the series to end to watch it, and now it's ended, and I just haven't taken the time.
Yeah, I need.
Yeah, like I watched the first two seasons, and then I dropped out of it. And like now, I have the problem where I feel like I need to rewatch the first two seasons.
That happens to me so much.
That
happens to me so much. Yeah, I hate having to rewatch
it. The Sopranos like 3 times.
I would rewatch The Sopranos though.
I watched a recap of the first 3 seasons because I had watched the first 3 seasons, and then I started Better Call Saul again on season 4. But then I was like, nah, I just want to watch Breaking Bad again.
Guys,
it happened to me with
that girl
Game
in
of
that
Thrones.
video. The girl in the video who's the dead girl was the voice of Lucy in the Charlie Brown cartoons.
Nuh-uh. Wow.
That's what Wikipedia says.
Wasn't there like 40 different Lucy's?
Yeah, but in the
Probably
original
would've
in
had
the
to
60s, a boy named Charlie Brown, 1969, she was Lucy. Wow.
James Lucy saying Elon is innovating space exploration and commerce. NASA is drawing queer flags. How do you draw a pride flag with science?
Oh my god!
This flag is a composite of NASA imagery phenomenon from Earth and far beyond it. Details below.
Like your sexuality is not an achievement, and it's not a choice. So what is there to be proud of?
No, that's the thing. It's individualism for thee, but not for me. It's.
I mean, I guess I just don't understand.
I had this black guy. We had one black guy at work, right? And okay, Charles Wagner just said Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad, and I doubt that, but
really?
I'll try it. Anyway,
really?
No,
I've heard a lot. Breaking Bad's like top 3 stuff.
I've heard a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that.
But I don't believe that.
I mean, I think that part of the problem is like you can't. I don't know. The thing is, because the problem is that Better Call Saul only happens because of Breaking Bad, and Breaking Bad was such a like sea change. I don't know what the right word is in televisual art. That like it's a little bit hard
what are
to
the
say.
Best series of all time. Acolyte.
The 1980s Twilight Zone.
Sopranos is still just way up there for me.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
I love Welcome Back, Kotter. Hey, Mr. Kotter. Hey.
I gotta say that
Find Rorschach's
Bryan
mother.
Cranston has been a part of like 2 of the best series ever.
Malcolm in the Middle holds up, man.
Malcolm in the Middle was to
rewatch
sitcoms
those.
what Breaking Bad is to dramas. It was, especially if you look at everything that was going on, like the other sitcoms of the time, that they weren't as good. Like nothing has sucked. Like I've tried to get into Seinfeld. I even tried
Malcolm in the Middle is more
Friends,
rewatchable than
all that
Seinfeld. I would
shit.
say.
Malcolm in the Middle was amazing. I love that show. They ruined some of the characters near the end. I hate what they do to Francis.
Seinfeld is such a product of its time. Like it kind of had to fit into what everything was doing at the time frame, and not had a thousand copycats since to kind of poop on it. But
sure, I just need to. I need to give it more of a chance.
I swear, like I think Seinfeld, like almost kind of like I was joking around about watching North by Northwest and the Rear View Window shows with, those are both Hitchcocks, and they kind of suck. They suck if you compare them to a movie made today in certain ways. It's great seeing Jimmy Stewart talk and all that sorts of stuff, but like the actual action and like movement and editing of the whole thing, you're kind of just like, okay. But you have to like, you look at that rear view window and realize they made this gigantic set that seemed like a New York City square, which that the spectacle of that just must have been amazing for its time frame. So you kind of have to put that context into it to really appreciate it. But it looks phony, it looks fake, and it's not. There's Jimmy Stewart's great, and Grace, what's her name, is great, but it's just not that compelling of a story.
Which movie?
Rear Window.
Oh,
you ever seen
I haven't seen that since the 90s. Cause like I don't know, like because I just rewatched just to show somebody that clip from the classic Twilight Zone with Burgess Meredith. When the guy who just wants to read, and then he breaks his glasses. But like that set, like at that final scene where they created that like huge post-apocalyptic set with all those bajillions of books that Burgess Meredith runs his hands over and throws around and all that crap. And it's just kind of funny where it's like they put so much effort into that for a dumb TV show. And like I look at nowadays, I mean, like especially, I don't know, like when I watch the stuff that like Disney produces for kids, and it's so lazy. It's just so fucking lazy. And
it's amazing what he had to do to create Rear Window and how much harder it would have been. But the thing at the same time, making that movie even just a little bit better looking right now today would be so easy, for But he made this gigantic set, like the biggest set ever to do this whole entire thing. And it's ranked like number 42 on AFI's 100 years of like best movies. But if you actually just watch it for a murder mystery and you aren't impressed by the set design or putting that set design in context, it's just kind of a movie, is my opinion.
Well, I look at the shit that I was even too old for, like shit. What was it? All those Dan Schneider shows on like Nickelodeon that like Morgan was about the right age to watch. She's like 3 years younger than I am. And God, they all are the same. I don't know. Did you ever watch BoJack Horseman?
Oh yeah, I love BoJack Horseman.
So
actually, he's in today's thumbnail. Yeah.
Anytime you see like a flashback to horsing around, like
they'll just remind me of the Friday night stuff.
Yeah. But that's for my generation. It was shit like the Dan Schneider shows, like the Josh and Drake and Josh and the iCarly, all that shit. I never really watched any of it because we never had.
To me, it's like Charles in Charge, or.
But that was one of my favorite. Like we actually, I was in Missouri when we first got married. I was hanging out with one of Morgan's friends from high school. And we were like, what should we do? And like, he just put on Netflix. And I was like, let's watch that stupid horse show. And it was like the holiday special where they just showed an entire episode of horsing around. And he just walks in there like, he sure was a horse of a different color.
Dude, I watched.
Somebody comes in like, hey, where? I love hay.
I watched an episode somewhere in like the first season of Step by Step, which was like total 90s sitcom, just randomly picked one out of the first season. And it seemed like it had jumped the shark already. And it was like 5 episodes into the whole series. And they came up with this thing where the girl, she skipped out on her homework and went to some faraway tavern, and then the one kind of dumb dude and the dad had to go to the tavern and save her from some sort of ninja fight, all while being like just the shittiest. What's the San Francisco one with Bob Saget and all that stuff? The
Full House.
The Full House. All while still just being the shittiest Full House show, but like just had this outlandish fight scene in it, and it's like 5 episodes into the series. But those shows are exactly what, you know. Back in the 90s, I was in a very TV show. I mean, those are just exactly what those shows were, man. But
that's funny because like Morgan was a fan of stuff like I think she liked Full House. I know she liked Boy Meets World. So she tried watching like the shitty reboots of them. Like there's Girl Meets World and there's Fuller House. And she was just like, these are terrible.
Yeah. Oh, but the old ones were so good.
No, I know. I was like, I could have told you they were terrible.
I remember figuring that out when I was like 13 or 14. All the Power Rangers came out. And I'm like, what are all these kids into this like gay bullcrap, man? This is so annoying and what the hell?
Okay, so but here's the thing.
At like 15 or 16, I saw Smurfs, and they were like, Smurfy, Smurfy, Smurfy. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh man, I was gay. Just like the stuff that I didn't realize was just annoying as hell. And the Simpsons actually spoofed the Smurfs for being that annoying. And I swear for the life of me, I can remember being young enough to not think it was just outrageously annoying.
See, I'm sure there was a time. I actually don't remember a time that I didn't know that Power Rangers was fucking dumb. Like in certain ways. Like we loved them. We thought they were cool. We thought the costumes were cool. And those look, I can still picture what I thought the Power Rangers outfits looked like when I was a kid. And in my head, they're fucking awesome. And then when I look at them, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. But like, we always knew, the one thing we always knew was stupid was how whenever one of them was talking in costume, they either had to be nodding their head or they had to be, we need to go get Zordon from the thing.
They had to talk like this while they're doing stuff too, right?
Yeah, they had to let you know which one was talking and their mouths aren't showing. It's like you just pan to them. A little bit of camera work would go a long way here, buddy. Nope.
The other one that just shocked me later is I was a big He-Man fan. And years later, when I realized how annoying Skeletor's voice was, I was like, what? I honestly didn't register it that way. And I don't know like how I didn't register it. Like, how did I not know this was a flaming bad guy when I was 5 years old? How didn't I catch that? Anyway, series and shows and shit, man. Everything's always been goofy.
It's all stupid.
It's all stupid, but
I always knew that it was all stupid. Just like I knew right away that Crad was a womanizer piece of shit.
Yeah. Seinfeld, like you watched the episode about them having a contest about masturbation. And that's so nothing today. That's so nothing. That one has to be understood in the time frame that it was, you know, because there would have never been approved the show before that on prime time NBC or whatever for them to have a masturbation contest, and that's the episode. Like that had to be understood in its context for sure. And now there'd just be a million different shows like that.
Morgan just sent me a meme. Well, it was kind of a meme. It was a news headline. It says, recent leak shows FBI uses player data to predict future sociopath based on how players treat NPCs in games like Fallout and Skyrim. And she sent that with the caption, "You're fucked."
Man.
I don't, like, that can't be true. And if it's true, you got to be stupid.
Yeah, well, no, it's probably not true. I'm just.
I mean, because like one thing is like you know, like when I play any of those games, like usually like the first time through, like is like because you know the first time is the only like true time because that's the only time when you don't know what's up and
you can
like
play
the first one I play like
that.
so the first time I play as honest as I am, you know. But then like I always do like an evil run. Like that's just what you do. Like I'm gonna try it all, but I'm gonna be pure evil, you know. And then usually I try a pacifist run. Like, it's just part of what you do. But
That's a way to keep the games interesting and keep going
Yeah.
and try them a different way. Yeah.
Alrighty. Did we do all the things?
I
Did a
think
lot of
we've
things.
done most things and figured it all out. And I guess I got to watch Better Call Saul now.
So we're
I've
not
been
gonna
meaning to watch it.
We're not gonna say all the embarrassing things we learned about John DeLynn. We'll just let people know that Rosebud wants people to know.
Charles says, seeing my son become obsessed with Power Rangers for several years, just like me when I was his age, was worse than learning Mormonism was made up.
Dude, so the Rosebud thing, that was so funny because like she's exposing all this shit, thinking that it's gonna make him look like a predator. It doesn't make him look like a predator. It makes him look like a fucking dunce. Like like we showed you this song. It looks stupid, and it makes him look like a dick because he's cheating on his wife and all that stuff. I get that, but she looks like a fucking moron too, and not just a moron, but
She
also
looks
an
like
asshole.
a woman that went after a guy that was married. You know, makes her look really bad. Like, but that thing's like, I mean, she's so far up the feminist butthole that she just thinks that everybody buys the like, well, he was a man and I was a woman. He had all the power.
Women have no agency and everything
have
that's
no
done.
agency, no power.
Women are free to have casual sex, but if a man doesn't give you his bone marrow for looking at you once, he's abused you and taken advantage of you.
Exactly. Alrighty.
We've deconstructed all the stuff, guys.
We destructed it.
Deconstruction. Deconstruction. It's all deconstructed now. Okay. Well, hopefully this week there'll be no more ex-Mormon predators or no more.
There won't be any more stupid this week. I'm sure of it.
They'll get through it. They did it. All right. Thanks for chilling, everybody.
All right. See ya.
All right. Later.
Alrighty.